RACE22 Radio. Welcome to RACE22 Radio with host Johnson.
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
And crazy Corey Latham.
I've been watching NASCAR and drinking beer.
RACE22 Radio, your number one source, covering all your favorite late model stock car racing action. And now it's time to crank it up.
All right, guys, we're here. RACE22 Radio is back for the third week in a row, despite the fact that Mason Dunn says that we were going on vacation after the first episode. But we're here tonight in PRW Chassis Studio at Performance Center Racing Warehouse in Statesville, North Carolina. And no, it has not got any nicer in here. We're waiting for Roger to really spruce things up in here. But for now, it's just an old race shop, and actually, it's kind of cool that way. Got Corey Latham here with me. And speaking of Roger Johnson, he's not here tonight. His son was sick, so he had to go home. But got Corey here in the house, and hopefully he's in a better mood than he was last week at his concert that he went to.
It was fine once I got in the gate, but yeah, I didn't think we was going to make it, and I was really mad.
Well, that's what happens when you try to get there on time instead of early.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We also got Thomas Scott in the house here tonight. He's going to be our guest here for at least the next 2 hours. Who knows how long we'll go. Just depends on where the conversation takes us. Welcome to the show, Thomas.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Glad to have you. You were another one of those guys who, as soon as I said that, we wanted anybody wanted to be on the show, let us know, and you hit me up, and here we are. So.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to be here. I've listened to the show the last couple of weeks, and it's been awesome. I wish obviously it could get out there even more than where it what it reaches right now, but yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to talk about race cars with their race car friends?
Well, I mean, honestly, we're just impressed that you heard the first two shows and still wanted to come on.
Yeah, I'm kind of amazed that we've made it to week 3 now.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Got a bunch of people joining in online here. I would start calling them out by name, but I would spend all night. So first thing we got to do is we're going to send it over to Doc here. Hopefully he's got his microphone on and doesn't mess anything up tonight, and we'll be good. He's going to give us the news.
All right, we're going to have a little news tonight. All right, a big race this weekend. The icebreaker at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Ty Gibbs was victorious this weekend. Very emotional in the victory lane. Great win for him with the Nelson Motorsports Group. First race out of the gate, and really looked good out there. Congratulations to those guys. Really tickled for them. Andy Marquis, our roving reporter, caught up with his grandfather, Joe Gibbs, and spoke to him about how special this was going in, in victory lane. Is very emotional, very big for the family.
It means a lot to our family and Ty. This is a huge day for us. I really appreciate it. And if everybody out there can go to jdgibbslegacy.com and watch our service from last Friday with JD. We lost JD January 11th. And so we're asking everybody to do that. Huge day for Ty and for the whole Gibbs family. I mean, it's a big deal for us. JD, really built our race team. Spent 27 years there and so we want to do everything we can to continue racing. It looks like Ty will be the one grandson that will want to race for us. And so that's exciting for us. For the whole family, we appreciate everybody here today.
There you go. That's the words and thoughts of Mr. Joe Gibbs. Finishing second, Ryan Millington. Now Greg Marlowe calling the shot. So very good out of the gate for them. Looking real good out there. Took over that second spot right on that last lap. So good job for those guys. Last year's champion, Justin Milliken, also in a Nelson Motorsports car. Andy Marquis caught up with Justin and said he was just thankful for the opportunity.
Yeah, man, for those guys to do what they did and offer me a car and put me in the race, I was just going to race them clean, and I didn't really have anything to race with at the end. I knew that my strategy was just to fall to the back and try to make some hay at the end of the race, and we were able to do that and found ourselves in second. And I knew when we went down into one, that I didn't have a winning car, so I wanted to try to do what I could to try to help the team get a win, and they did. So it was a great weekend. Ty drove a great race. Thanks to Nelson Motorsports, thanks to all my guys at Justin Milliken Racing. Thank you to David West for the awesome horsepower tonight. Just a heck of a weekend.
There you go. It's the thoughts of Justin Milliken. Bradley McCaskill finished fourth. He showed some great speed last Saturday. Led practice at one point, so did real good out there at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Jacob Hevner finished fifth. Brody Pope finished sixth. Luke Sorrow finished seventh. Mike Darn finished eighth. Jason York finished ninth. Rounding out your top 10 was Peyton Sellers in that familiar 26 Clarence Steakhouse machine. All eyes, though, after the race were on Corey Heim and Will Burns. You know, they were racing up there to the front of the pack and had a little contact, and both of them not happy after the incident, and they had some words, but I think cooler heads prevailed. Corey Heim, of course, very dejected. But after the contact, you know, they sent Corey to the back as well. He wasn't very happy with that. But Brandon White, our roving reporter, caught up with him and says Corey said that his team had a great game plan going into the weekend.
We had a good strategy going into the race, and I think it played out pretty well. Got back a little bit too far in the middle of the race, just fell back to like 16th or 15th, something like that, and had to make it 3 wide a couple times coming through the field. And then, I mean, we went up to third. We were battling for the lead, for the win, really, there at the end. And then we got an incident with the 41 car. I feel like I was a little bit inside of him and drove it in too deep and just got into him a little bit. And I feel like I shouldn't have been put to the back because I feel like it was a racing incident. But I feel like if they hadn't put me to the back, I could have battled for the win there and probably held the 18 off on the outside. So I don't understand why they put me to the back, but the wreck was my fault, but it was a racing incident, you know, and they shouldn't have put me to the back. But I guess it's just how it is recently with us, and hopefully we'll be back for the next one.
Did Will have anything to say to you after the race by chance?
Yeah, he just wanted to know what I was thinking, I guess. I mean, he definitely had less tire than me and the 18 did, and me and the 18 were, you know, going by him, and I just had barely a nose in there, and I pushed up a little bit, I guess, and just got into him. I don't really know what happened because I haven't really seen like a video of it, but I guess I'm pretty sure it was just a racing incident. So, I mean, I told him it was my fault, which it was, and I apologize, and that's all I had to say, really.
All right, so obviously you had a fast car here today. Did you think you had someone for Gibbs there at the end if you got by Burns?
I think the only thing I could have for him is if I was either in front of him or outside of him. I think just if you were in front of the other person, it was impossible to get by him on the tires just because of how this track works and how the outside is. But if I was outside of him or in front of him, I think I had something for him, but otherwise not really.
So, I mean, it's another unfortunate, disappointing inning for you in your time with late models. So, going forward, like, what's the mindset?
Mindset from here on out is just to go and try to win the next one. I mean, I just got to forget everything, you know, that's happened in the past and learn from it. And hopefully don't get, you know, screwed next race, and hopefully the officials will let me keep one and win a round with them and not get put to the back or disqualified or, you know, screwed out of a win, whatever it is. So.
Not very happy at the end of that race with another officiating situation with Corey Heim. Brandon White also caught up with the other side of that story. Will Burns said all things considering still had a very good day, said Will Burns.
I think it was a really good day. I think everybody definitely knew that we were here. Led a lot of laps, unfortunately, there at the end. You know, everybody's kind of slipping and sliding around, and Corey just kind of messed up and got into me. We already talked about it. But yeah, really solid day up until that. Really happy with the car and excited to come back whenever we do decide to. So.
Right, now obviously, that doesn't sound like you're angry with Corey that much at all. Did you, like, you were able to talk things out with him?
Yeah, we talked about it. I was a little harsh, which I don't really ever get too mad. Try not to fight, stuff like that. Just take care of our business. Just try to take care of our business on the racetrack, and honestly, you know, the racetrack, making the call there to throw him to the back with me was probably, you know, revenge enough. Yeah. So, which that's a hard call to make for the racetrack, but unfortunately for some people, sometimes that's the way it is. So, yeah, not too terribly upset, but definitely not happy with the results that we had today.
Right. I know Gibbs passed you there in the final few laps. Did you think you had something for him there at the end, or did you burn your stuff up?
Ty Gibbs?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I had anything for him. His car was really good when he came by me. I think he was going to go on, and honestly, Corey probably would have got me there if he had gone about it the right way. And I think we probably would have ended up third. That could be on me. Maybe he didn't quite save enough. But all in all, we had a really good car.
All right. So, how many more races do you plan on running this year?
Well, with the Hulk McCall guys, we're going to run some more big races this year that I didn't run last year. The Hampton Heat, going to run the Bobby Isaac again, and possibly the Rodney Cook. So, and then on top of that, we're going to do quite a few like regular season races. So, I think we'll do some here, we'll do some at Hickory, and then possibly travel up to Southern National or something at some point. So
there you go. That's Will Burns finishing 15th after that late race contact. Also in the news, Orange County Speedway released their 2019 schedule. Leads off with the 30,000 to win Cars Tour late model race, so that's going to be highly anticipated. As we said earlier, Riding Millington adds Greg Marlowe's crew chief, and he's second this past weekend to Icebreaker. And last but not least, Brandon Pierce named Most Improved Driver by the RACE22 staff.
All right. Interesting race down there at Myrtle Beach. I wasn't there, but Corey, you were there. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was really good. Will Burns and Sam Yarborough, I mean, they put on a show the whole race, led the entire race. And it was really weird because, you know, the days of the Frank Denny backing up and running 6 wide and, you know, running 45 mile an hour, the last 2 or 3 years, the tires don't fall off like they used to. And if you're not up there in the top 6 or 7, I mean, you're something. But this race actually had a lot of people coming and going. At the end, Justin Milliken, I mean, he was half a lap behind, and he put it on him going to the front, and they just ran out of tire. But yeah, and you know, the Gibbs kid, I mean, that was the best I've ever seen him drive in my life. He did everything perfect. I mean, played the game plan perfect. Didn't drop a wheel off anywhere. I mean, it looked good all day and run a perfect race.
Yeah, I mean, they must have definitely dialed him in, at least on the radio or something.
Yeah.
Kept him, you know, back, you know, saving some tire, because, I mean, that's something he hadn't been that great at.
No, saving's not, you know, I mean, he's a 16-year-old kid.
Right,
It's hard to say,
right.
Slow down, man. Slow down in a race car, you know.
Well, I mean, and it's better to have to harness somebody, you know, to have to pull the reins on somebody than to have to push them.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
much better there.
Yeah, Corey Heim at the end, you know, I mean, he was wide open too. Him and I mean, Will's car, it was burned up. It was falling back anyway. But he's a big old boy. I don't think I want him pissed at me.
No, I don't think. I
mean, I'd take a knee out or something first thing on him. For sure.
Yeah, like fooling with Kyle Grissom right there. You know?
Yeah.
Just go on, get him out of the way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, interesting start to the season. So hopefully we'll get that good a racing, you know, as we go through the season.
I was surprised with the car count. I mean, because honestly, I didn't hear a whole lot of hype. I mean, people.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I heard more people not going than
right.
going, and then I get there and I was like, wow, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a great car count.
Well, I think you had a lot of the. I'm not going to say a lot. A handful of the heavy hitters that weren't really there, but like the field size, you know, there was a lot of good, you know, cars. They were, you know, there's probably, I'm gonna say there's 10 or 12 cars that could have won the race, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Norton was top 4 the entire race until the very end. Lost brakes on the back. But then the thing, like Brody Pope, never run there before. Michael Falk's car. They run him and Mike Darn run around, just barely, almost get lapped the whole race, and Jacob Hefner too.
Yeah.
And at the end of the race, you know, they come to the front. So.
And both of those two guys had really, really good runs, really surprising runs.
Yeah.
Hefner and Pope both had really, really surprising runs. I didn't expect either one of them to finish where they did.
And didn't have a scratch on the car, none of them. So.
Corey Heim, man. Again, you know, he finds himself in a situation where, you know, a race is kind of taken away from him. Maybe you can say he was a little more at fault here. I don't know, but
he was not going to catch the 18 car, but he would have finished second.
Right.
You know, and Yeah, Lloyd that was fun after the race.
Well, it's always fun with Lloyd.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if he's on tonight or not.
He wasn't as pissed as I thought he was going to be at all.
Yeah, he wasn't like Martinsville.
No.
He was quite fired up at Martinsville for sure.
Yeah, he was.
I'm just glad.
Speaking of him, today's his birthday, so happy birthday.
Oh, yeah,
Lloyd.
happy birthday, Lloyd.
Absolutely.
He's 63 years old, so he looks
oh, wow.
he looks good to be that old. I mean, I hope I look that good when I'm 63. No, wait a minute. No, I don't.
I mean, you're what, 75 now?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, something close to that. I'm just glad to have racing to talk about, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the first couple of shows, we didn't really have any racing to talk about, and we kind of forgot to, actually preview the icebreaker last week. It was just conversation went so good, we just never got to it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the whole race was very good. Which Myrtle Beach is. I've never seen a bad race at Myrtle Beach, but this one was a little bit better than the past few I've seen.
I mean, you can down there. You're either going to have a really good race or you're going to have a really boring race, one or the other. And I mean, like for their regular weekly races, and this is not in the last couple of years because I haven't been, but previous, man, you could have a real stinker. Yeah. But I also went to Twins one night, and Chad McCumbee and gosh, I'm trying to remember who he was battling, but they run side by side for like the whole race.
Yeah,
it was great.
Will Burns and Yarborough, they was pretty much side by side almost the whole race.
Yeah, kind of a tough weekend for the Robert Elliott trucking team with the Yarborough and Chad McCumbee.
McCumbee was just riding. He got pitched in the wall. I seen that going in turn 3. Justin Hicks got into him, pitched him in the wall. But then I found out later Justin Hicks, I guess, got took to the hospital because he had carbon monoxide poison. So I'm guessing when he pinched him, it run the exhaust back up in the car.
Yeah.
Looking around, is there somebody sneaking up behind me? Oh.
Some people coming in here to raid the Performance Center. Since Roger's not here, they heard on the radio that Roger wasn't here. They're going to go ahead and take as many parts as they can.
Some of them junior motorsports people.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Some of Josh Berry's bunch right there.
It is.
All right. Well, let's dive in with our guest for tonight. Again, our guest is Thomas Scott, who had an incredible season last year. Pretty much was the guy who played second fiddle all year to Philip Morse and Peyton Sellers at South Boston, and had a great run at the Hampton Heat, had a great run at Martinsville, although you didn't really get the finish out of that you should have. Tell us about your season, man.
Yeah, we had an unbelievable year. I mean, if anybody's kind of followed how we've raced over the years and just where we've come from, when we started 10 years ago doing late model racing and stuff, to go out there and race competitive with those guys, I mean, it's unbelievable just the success we were able to have last year.
Yeah, well, speaking of, where you started, give us, a 1 or 2 minute, quick history of where you come from. Because, I mean, you come from a racing family. So, I mean, you've come up through, the ranks, and just kind of give us a history there.
Yeah, I mean, grew up ever since I was born. I've been around racing. My dad, started over at Ace Speedway in 1984. He's got 7 or 8 track champions over there, including the dirt and asphalt. So growing up, hanging out the shop and working on the cars and stuff, I mean, obviously it's all I've ever done and all I've ever wanted to do. And, once I got old enough to start doing it, my parents got me a dirt bike and we started dirt bike racing a little bit. And I was a little bit too overweight for that, so we moved on to 4 wheels. Wow. We moved up to 4 wheels and then got on go-karts and run that for a couple years, and was still a little too overweight for that, so that's when we started just focusing on the cars and stuff. Plus, go-kart racing, it's gotten so expensive. It's, you can about run a car for what these people spend on go-karts and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why we went ahead and just moved right along. And, when I got old enough to start driving a car, I moved right in.
Yeah, and people can't see, but Thomas is looking at us going, something's going on behind him. Okay, and
that's because the bartenders arrived.
That's because a keg of beer just come up over here behind us in a trash can. So, yeah, Thomas is looking around like something's going on behind me, but I'm going to keep talking for right now.
Needless to say, Zach Bruinger is here. So you can always tell when he's arrived because we start laughing, okay? Oh, man. Let's get this out of the way because I know that somebody's going to ask, what's your plans for this year?
Well, we're definitely going to plan on doing the South Boston deal for right now. I mean, it's so many reasons why that track is just so appealing to go up there and race. We can talk about more later, but right now that's all I'm focusing on. They have a really good schedule. It's really hard for me to kind of plan out what I'm going to do for this year just because it takes so much money to race, and No, I'm good. I got I got a 2-hour drive back. So, but no, we're planning on doing the South Boston deal, hitting up the Hampton Heat again. Just stuff we had a lot of fun last year, and we want to try to do that again just because we did enjoy it so much.
Yeah, what made you, you've raced, and I've watched you grow over the years. I've been around you for a long time now, many years. And this last year, it just seemed to, you were getting better and better. But last year, what'd you hit on that just, everything just jumped?
Well, it's been a culprit of over the years. So many of these people come into the sport and can just flat out buy what they need to go fast right out at the start.
Right.
And for somebody like me that doesn't have access to that kind of capital and just you have to work really hard, build up your equipment over the years, and we finally got everything kind of matched all together. We got the car where we felt like we had pretty much the same equipment as everybody else. Obviously there's some stuff you don't get if you're not rich, but
yeah.
And I don't mean to play that card, but I'm just being honest. And between that and getting the equipment where it needed to be, and then getting help and access to the technology aspect of it through HC Sellers and Sellers Racing, that kind of really separated me from where I've been to where I've become last year. And I can't say enough. You think and you try to learn, and you try to look at other people's cars. You try to just kind of put it all together to make it go fast. But until you actually have somebody who is able to eat, sleep, drink it every day and do it every day and have the access to the technology, it's really hard to get to where you need to be.
Yeah, it's extremely expensive, and you're one of those low budget guys. And what really tells me how low budget you are is Thomas Bean told me to ask you a question, and he wanted to know if you'd be buying any more used ball joints from him.
Probably. I try to find good deals like that all the time. You'd actually be surprised to know how much used stuff I buy that these people just throw away.
Well, I seen you working on a used spindle the other day.
Still really good.
I could tell you a great story. Oh my gosh, his dad. This was years ago. We was at South Boston. They had a pass race or something, and the race was over. Everybody's gone. I'm standing there at the wall, putting my stuff in the bag, and he said, "Reckon anybody's gonna take any of this stuff?" If they had a bunch of wrecks,
Yeah.
It was a spring air or something. He walks around with an arm full of stuff. Everybody done gone anyway. They were gonna leave it there anyway. But yeah, they've scrapped and fought and to where he's got at now for sure.
Yeah, no, that's our shop is such a mess because he's that way. That's just he holds on to everything he can find. He's gonna find a use for it at some point.
Yep.
I can promise you that. But that's just. I'm used to it, I'm not embarrassed by it by any means, I'm just used to that's how it has to be for me, and we take it and do the best we can with it.
Right. you got to do with what the opportunity in front of you. You can't worry about the opportunity of anybody else.
That's right. And, it's so easy, you see all the keyboard warriors and people that talk on the internet all the time about how, if you don't have the money to do it, you might as well not do it. Or, if you complain about how much stuff costs, you don't have to do it, and they're right. But what would racing be without the people that, aren't going to be out there to spend, what would you have 4 or 5 car races if you just had big teams?
I've always said the guy running in 13th place is just as important as the guy winning the race.
And I guarantee you they work just as hard. A lot of people work just as hard. They're just, it takes a lot of effort if you don't have the means to go out and pay somebody to help you.
Yeah.
Right. No doubt. One of the first questions on here is from Mason Dunn. I mentioned him earlier. He wanted to know what's the over-under on how many times the word "the grind" is going to be used tonight. Well, since Roger's not here, I'm thinking that the grind's probably not going to get used tonight.
No.
I don't. Stephen over here in the crowd, he says it's going to get used at least 3 times.
3 times.
He's going, well, we're almost there now. So, but. I'm not going to use those words, but tell people what you do. Because obviously you're not working on your race car, every day in and day out. You're not getting paid to do that. So tell us what you do, and tell us what's your work ethic with your job, and then going to work on the race car.
So I'm a body shop manager of a pretty big shop in Raleigh, and that requires me to be there pretty much 55, 60 hours a week. I hold the keys to the building, so I have an awesome team of people that work for me and under me, and it's constantly busy. It's an industry, the automotive industry in general there's always going to be cars, and there's always going to be people wrecking them. So it's busy in itself, especially here lately this time of year, from the deer season where people have deer accidents all the way through winter storms and stuff. This time of year is really busy, and it usually slows us down a little bit in the summertime, but it depends on how much severe weather we have in this area. So it's always busy, and I'm there, leaving the house at 6:30 in the morning, don't get home until 6:30 at night usually at the earliest. And, my normal day, especially during race season, especially right now trying to get ready for race season, I'm gone 12 hours a day for my real job, and then come home and spend 30 minutes or an hour at home eating dinner, hanging out with the girl and stuff, and then it's hitting the shop. And, you work out there till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and get you a few hours of sleep and go at it again. I mean, it is a grind, that's for sure.
Well, there goes that word. I said I wasn't going to use that one, but I guess I used it twice because of reading his crap. Anyways, people chiming in, talking about your dad being the man, and that's definitely true. He's one of my favorite people at the racetrack.
Yeah,
and,
most definitely.
Somebody who always, no matter what happens, he always gets free Race 20. He will get free Race 22 apparel.
I've
for the
never
rest of
seen
his
him
life.
not wear a Race 22 shirt at a racetrack.
Me either. I mean, it's very. If you see him without one, you're like, did it get ripped, or what? I got to get you another one. I mean,
I didn't bring him tonight because I knew he'd steal the show, so that's.
Oh well, you're probably right about that. You're probably right. I mean, he's and he can talk for sure.
Oh yeah, he does. He's got a lot of knowledge. Some of it's.
Let me tell you about something, Corey. Come here, Corey. I want to tell you about something. 22 years ago, I was right over there. And
yeah, he's got a story for every moment. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Well, it's awesome. I mean, I've heard so many of his stories. I could pretty much tell you anything and everything. But
you've heard him multiple times. I'm sure.
Multiple times. He's definitely proud of his accomplishments, as he should be. He's done a whole lot in racing, and that's definitely where I got my work ethic from, as far as wanting to do it and enjoying it like I do. He's won a lot of races and won a lot of championships and stuff, and I definitely feel like he never got the opportunity to do as good as he probably could have had he been given the right opportunity. And it's just one of them things. He's always raced what he could afford, and late model racing's it's a little bit more than what we could afford, but we do it anyway because it's fun, and you can race different tracks and stuff. But yeah, he's definitely the man.
Your mom said that your dad wants a hoodie, so I guess he's going to get a hoodie. I mean, I'm telling you, anybody who wears a billboard that much for us, I mean, it's free for life. I mean, I can just go ahead and tell you.
Well, especially 100%. If we run good, he's going. If it's a shirt he wears when we run good, he'll wear it every week. So
you must have run good in some of them Race 22 shirts because he has them on all the time for sure. You were talking before the show about actually having a pit crew. And in years past, it's just been you, your mom and dad, pretty much.
That's it.
Everyone,
him, his mom, and his dad.
I mean, every once in a while you'd have somebody helping you, but I mean, it was nothing steady. So tell us, first off, about working so closely with your parents over the years, and then tell us about your pit crew that you have now helping you.
Well, I mean, it's stating the obvious. You couldn't do it if you don't have help.
Right.
I mean, how would I possibly go race if I didn't have somebody to come to the track with me, even if it's just them? There for many years it was just them. It's hard to find. It's hard to find help. I mean, right now I have a bunch of great guys that like to help, come out to the shop during the week and work during the week and go to the track with us on Sunday. And, I mean, they honestly, they would come work in the shop if I wasn't out there, I mean, I like to be around, but, there for many years it was just them. And we would take off to Motor Mile. I was a
I've pushed his car more than any car I've ever pushed in my life.
And my mom's changed just as many tires as probably anybody in the pits. That's one thing she enjoys is using the impact gun. But she'd get some help, putting it up on the hubs or whatever. But it's something, man. You can look at it and kind of feel bad sometimes. You're like, what am I doing out here if this is all I got? But then you think about what it actually means, that they actually are so committed to come out and just support me and help me. The only way we can do it. And,
I've always thought it's the coolest thing I've ever seen because you got these teams over here and they're all running and doing stuff and all technical and professional, and then here's like the family t-ball game over here, and but they're having a great time. Right. I've never seen them mad or nothing. You're having a good time as a family at the racetrack. And I always thought that was awesome, man. Awesome.
It's what it's all about, man. I mean, so many of these teams and stuff, started with dads racing, or it's still quite a bit of family in the kind of racing we do, and it's definitely one of the aspects I think it's important to always have, because once you lose that, racing will start going downhill.
Yeah. Is your mom still spotting for you?
No, I got a great spotter. She spotted for me at the Hampton Heat. So a lot of tracks we go to, you at least got to have a NASCAR license and somebody to go up in the spotter stand. And when we actually went to the Heat this year, the date got moved.
Yeah.
And I think 2 of my crew members that had been pretty much every week, I'd already made plans because we were off that weekend, so they couldn't come. And sure enough, we sent Mom up in the spotter stand, and she hung out up there. She talked some, but my dad just spot from the infield. We just had her up there just to have a spotter. But yeah, I mean, it's been many races. She's had to call me clear, or tell me if there was a wreck or something. And you don't see many moms up there doing that.
Now I know in seasons past you've spent time at Motor Mile. I know with them reopening, kind of going against South Boston. Does that keep you from going up there this year?
It's still so up in the air how much racing I'm going to get to do this year. I just got a lot of stuff going on, and we spent a lot of money last year to do as good as we did. So it's I'm not going to do that again this year. So I have to be very conscious of where we race and like how expensive our weekends are going to be. That's just how it is. I want to go up to Motor Mile. That's my favorite track. I mean, by far.
I know you've told me that several times.
That is my favorite track I race at. I wish it wasn't 3.5 hours away from home, because that's a long day. Because we never spend the money for a hotel room or anything like that. We drive up Saturday morning and roll up at the house at 3:30, 4 o'clock Sunday morning, back up at church, for church that morning. So I want to get back up there. I'm very excited about some of the stuff that I've seen that they're going to implement this year. I think it's going to be a lot of things that help make the competition a lot closer. Definitely stuff they're doing with the fans aspect of it, trying to get more people in there to watch the shows. I mean, I've been up there, for the last 3 or 4 years racing off and on, and you could have a great race and have the best late model drivers in the area around, but it wouldn't be people in the stands. Yeah. And you just knew that they were losing money just because of what they paid out for us to be there. And I'm really excited, and I really hope that they do well. I think I want to make some trips up there this year. Guess we'll just have to see how South Boston goes.
Gotcha. You really took to Langley Speedway last year, in that trip to the Hampton Heat. Are you planning on going back out there?
For sure, yeah. Actually, that's a funny story. So, I'd never even seen the track, and I drove up there one Saturday in June, I think, and went up by myself. Drove up there, 3-hour trip there, and just went in the pits, hung out, and really learned a lot from just watching the race. I mean, I've always been very analytical when it comes to that stuff. I can just watch race cars and watch racing to figure out what I need to do when I come back and drive. So, yeah, I went up there, and for the first time, awesome place. I mean, it's just a phenomenal place. And we were going to come back up there for the Heat and not get to practice, because it's really difficult for me to go during the week and practice. We were going to go straight up there and race, and we had the race weekend up there, and we drove all the way up there, 3.5 hours pulling our trailer, and as soon as we pulled in the track, they're like, well, we're going to call it off this weekend.
As soon as you pulled in.
Yeah, as soon as we pulled in. So we're like, man, we drove all this far, and fortunately they were like, well, we'll let you practice today because the rain was coming that weekend, so we got to practice that day. And I mean, we were the last car out there. Like, we had race monitored everything. We were the slowest car there, and I was a little discouraged because it didn't feel that bad. It was just slow. But I mean, I'd never raced there, and that is probably one of the hardest technical tracks as far as a driver that I've raced at. You have no banking, so you have to be very sharp at your how you drive the car, because you have nothing there to kind of help you recover. And I struggled with that.
Well, that's why, because, like I say, I've known you a long time. I know your driving style. That doesn't seem like the track that would fit you, because you always like a loose race car.
Yeah.
Hanging it out in the corners. That ain't a place you could do it.
It's not. It's so hard on tires, and it's just, it's an all-around difficult track. And we went back up there a couple weeks later and raced for the first time. And I mean, we were just as bad. It was our first race on our upgrade motor, and I was all excited about that. It's like, well, I finally got the new upgrade because all year I'd been running with the Steelhead built motor and running really good at South Boston with it. But it was the first race we had with our new motor, and I was like all excited about it. Still last in practice, qualified like next to last. I just could not figure it out. And I think I got up, started, they had like 18 cars. I may have got up to like 13th or something that first race, and that's where I finished. And I was just like, man, this is so embarrassing. I've been running all year second and third to Phillip and Peyton at South Boston. And then here I can't even get out of my own way down here. And we made some wholesale changes and we threw a bunch of stuff at the car, which is not necessarily something I like to do. I like to kind of get everything precise in the shop. I feel like that's more important. And we threw a bunch of stuff at the car, and we went out there, and I drove all the way up to, obviously I love the outside on the cone stuff. I'm definitely not scared. And we took some cones a couple times, got up to like 5th place. I think I ended up like 8th or 9th, but still, I learned a whole lot that race. And sure enough, we come back for the heat, and we were pretty good. I really felt like there for a while I had a car that could have won the race. Everybody's putting tires on for practice. We didn't buy any practice tires. I've always believed, well, for one, I can't afford the extra set of tires on the race weekend, but, you dial your car in on what you're going to race on. Them new tires are only going to be new, especially the 45s, for about 10 laps.
Exactly.
After that, lap times, everything's going to be about the same. So, man, we got to going and practice, and I was like, this car's pretty good. Started comparing people on old tires, and it was like pretty good, and went out and qualified like 11th or 13th or something. It was 30-something cars there. Where I found that lap, I don't know, but we started the race, and Peyton's raced there quite a bit, and I definitely can't speak volumes enough about how much HC and Peyton helped me this past year. But Peyton really helped me get the track figured out, and it showed from lap 1. And we started passing cars, and I hadn't raced a tire conservation race in a couple years. I've been racing on the F50s all year at South Boston. That's 100% from green flag.
Yeah.
Ace is 100% from green flag. Like, it's everywhere I've raced, it's just wide open, as fast as you can go for the start. And I feel like I saved too much. And I could have probably went on up there and got past Peyton, but I just was backing it down way too much to try to make sure I had some at the end, and we never got a caution. And then, when it got time to go, I didn't have nothing left at the very end to run anybody down. But
Gotcha. We're just for the people listening right now, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty on Facebook, trying to stay live. For some reason it keeps kicking us off, but hopefully that'll be the last time, and hopefully you'll be able to hear everything. But if not, we'll post we'll post the whole show again later. We have it recorded separately, so we'll be able to put that up later. Speaking of Langley Speedway, planning on running the Triple Crown, I assume?
Yes, as long as I have enough money at that time of the year.
Gotcha. I understand.
That's definitely the plan. I've really felt like I had a legitimate shot last year. That's why we still went to Langley after our bad race at South Boston. I feel like I could have run third at South Boston for the big race and got caught up in that first lap wreck. And, had I had that third or even top 5 at South Boston, had the 4th place at Langley, and was restarting third at the last restart at Martinsville, we definitely had a decent chance to bring home the $10,000.
Yeah, and that $10,000 is a lot of money for a team like yours.
A lot of money. Yeah, I could do a lot with that money.
Yeah, you were telling me before the show, how you took basically and bought other people's totaled race cars to have yours.
Yeah, both of my cars were somebody else's totals. My my car that I've made Martinsville with the last, 4 or 5 years, except this past year, was one Dustin Rumley went out to park with at Ace, and we bought it and bought it for hardly nothing, put a frame rail in it and done a bunch of work to it, put front clips and stuff on it, and I mean, it's one of my favorite cars. Yeah, obviously it runs just as good as a lot of them. So my other car, the one that I run really good with this year, that we run pretty much everywhere. I mean, it was one that Dylan Bassett had totaled at Motor Mile, I think 2014. So
wow,
bought that joker and
if Dylan Bassett totaled it, it was total.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, they brought it up here, and it was going to be so expensive to fix it. They just junked it.
I'm sure.
We done a lot of work to that car, man. But it's something. It's something I enjoy. I know every inch and every weld of each one of my race cars, and it's helps me to work on them better.
Yeah, y'all used to build your own motors, didn't you?
We still do. So
you still do?
We actually, Clark's Automotive does all of our machine work, and that's where we get our parts. My dad still assembles our engines.
Yeah, I remember you saying something on Facebook a while back about, going to the spec engine, how you had done it yourself.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing. As much as we can cut out paying somebody to do work on something, we try to do it ourselves.
I mean, that's got to be a tremendous cost savings right there in itself.
It is, and sometimes it's hard. I mean, it's because you get paying customers obviously in front of stuff that you want to get done, just because you're not really a paying customer like everybody else. But it's a lot of satisfaction and gratification out of it too. Doing it yourself. I raced, my motor at Martinsville. I would have put it up against anybody's. I passed probably. I think it was 12 Harrington motors down the long straightaways. I mean, I don't think, you get with the right people, and, deal with who you can work with the most, and you can make the most out of it.
Yeah. You think there's other racers going to be listening going, wait a minute, let me get this. If I work on my car and do stuff, it can be fast? I mean, is this a concept?
No, they're going to be like, why does this guy do this? I just pay for this stuff,
man.
That's what it's going to be like. Speaking of the spec engine, Josh Berry a couple weeks ago basically said that it was a $28,000 engine. I mean, obviously yours didn't cost that much because you did it yourself. But, and I know he talked about, how he didn't really feel like it had a place because of that. What, you're on the other end of the spectrum. You had a steelhead engine. You were one of those guys who, was in a position to, do it cheaper. So tell us what you think about the spec.
Well, it was just so much of that stuff in the market, 5-10 years ago, because that's what everybody had.
Yeah.
And, I mean, my dad had raced those type of engines even before I started racing, so of course he had an abundance of parts and blocks and heads and everything. So naturally that we had everything. That's how we went about what engine we were going to run. And if we had to go and buy a Harrington motor or something like that, I mean, it would take me 2 years to probably save up enough money to buy a new motor. I mean, I have to look at what's the most cost-effective way I can go about putting an engine together, and that's honestly it. It was, spend $10,000 on a Harrington motor, or spend about $5 on the spec motor upgrade, and obviously we chose the cheaper route.
Yeah, so you say it only cost you about $5,000
to upgrade. I mean, that's what the parts and labor cost. But who's going to go and put their stuff together themselves? A lot of people don't. A lot of people are so scared to even take the intake off of an engine, much less, valve springs or anything like that. People just send that stuff out to the engine builders, which, I mean, they got to make a living too, but, not everybody can afford that stuff.
Right. Says Dylan Hauser said it doesn't sound like you need that intake based on how powerful you said your motor was at Martinsville.
I just got it last week.
Well, going to be even faster then. Jason Stanley says that you're drunk, Corey. And I'm pretty sure he's only had like 2 sips of beer here. But,
yeah, I'm just amazed he didn't get caught cheating this weekend. So.
Oh, ouch! I mean, just because he didn't get caught didn't mean he wasn't.
It didn't mean he didn't. Yeah.
Justin Mincy chiming in says, "One man's junk is another man's treasure." If Thomas didn't get a treasure and made the best of it, and that's true. I mean, making the best of what you had the opportunity to get. Still, with the engines, what do you think the intake's going to do for the spec engine?
I'm really interested to see how it's going to all shake out. I didn't get to drive the new spec engine a couple years ago when they first had this intake, so I do remember seeing it, and it's like, and racing against it, and like, holy cow, this is a lot better. But I was on I was on the end of at Martinsville where clearly one engine. I'm not going to get into specifics. One engine had more than the other, I felt like, and obviously we were on the benefiting end of the rule changes and stuff. But
right.
I will say it would have made a whole lot more sense to me to slow down one engine that was a whole lot better off than the other ones, just to equal everything out. It would not cost as much money, and our cars are really getting to about the limit that they can take on the power we're putting under them. I mean, we need, the debate going on about the brakes is out there. We're at the limit of the brakes, and I don't want to go spend no more money to upgrade my brakes.
Yeah, we can rein all that in though.
Yeah,
they can rein in the power of the engines.
And it's weird because we're race car drivers. We want to go as fast as we can, and
right.
we love speed, and I love the feel of the more power. But you got to do what's practical too.
Right.
For everybody to have to go out and spend $4 or $5 grand to get their engines redone to upgrade a part. If you're paying an engine builder, it would have made a whole lot more sense to me to just put a $80 restrictor plate on one,
right.
or make everybody have the same carburetor. That's a whole other topic. Is getting everybody on a 2-barrel. It's different ways we could have went about that whole deal other than just throwing money out there to make everything equal once again.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Obviously, getting into another one of the hot topics, and that's the spindles. I seen on your Facebook you were redoing somebody's used spindles, so obviously you don't have the billet steel spindles. So what do you think about those? And guys thinking that they have to have them. And
well, I kind of debated on how much I wanted to talk about this subject because I really enjoy that aspect of our race cars. I build my own spindles, and I can see both sides of a benefit to those spindles and why they're not necessary. I find it really hard to believe that $1,000 spindle is going to make a car go through a turn, as fast or faster.
Durability is what everybody's told me is all it is. It's just durability.
But here's two sides to that story. The stronger you make your spindles, the more stuff you tear up when you wreck. I've built my spindles for many years now, and I build them a certain way. The whole benefit of them is not just durability. It's deflection of the snout, under load. We're under so much load now on the bump stops. That stuff starts to flex if you don't have it adequately built properly. So you can build spindles a certain way to withhold a certain strength. I mean, they have ways of measuring the load, the load deflection under load and not versus, the wheel loads and on the shocks. And I'm sure somebody figured out that was happening and built billet spindles to kind of beefing that stuff up for that aspect of it. Another thing, it benefits the brakes. We run a floating caliber, so we don't have to have a solid caliber with pistons on both sides of the rotor. So when you can weld your brake bracket on as straight as could be, but because it's just the design and the torque of the rotor when the brake's applied, you get better performance when you beefing that stuff up, and it stops and the pads wear straighter. So it's got its benefits. Do I think it's necessary? No. I mean, I'll never have any. I can build a spindle for $70. I mean, I got a homemade jig, and it takes me about 3 hours, and I got a spindle. I can make it whatever height I want it to be, whatever angle I want it to be. If I knock a steering arm off, I can just whack it off and weld it back on or put a new one on. But I don't think it's necessary. I struggle to see how it's going to make a car go faster, just knowing what I know about the spindles. And I'll throw this out there too. You get that stuff. People sometimes don't think, and a lot of people that have access to that technology and the money to spend on those spindles can pretty much replace what they need to if they wreck. Front clip, if it sacrifices a front clip, A-frame, whatever, they don't care. I hit the wall at Martinsville and had a spindle built too stiff, and it wiped out, a lower control arm mount, lower control arm, pushed the clip over, but then I've figured out ways to kind of, somebody that races like me that can't afford putting a new clip on, I put the clip on last year at the beginning of the year just to update my stuff, but you know, I mean, if I knock a clip off one of my cars this year, I'll probably be done racing that car for the rest of the year. It's just the nature of the beast. So, you know, you can overdo it on a lot of that stuff, and then it starts wiping out more components when you hit stuff. And I have to kind of be on the side of caution when it comes to that stuff, because I got to try to make my stuff last.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we found in the last 3 weeks, of this debate that everybody disagrees on this subject, and it's interesting to hear that you don't really think that there's any performance advantage either, because a lot of people, that's what they think. I mean, and that's how they feel about it. They feel like it's performance advantage, and
it's because it costs money, and they think you spend money, it makes
more
something
money
faster.
you spend, the faster it makes your car go. And I can assure you, if I was a millionaire and I had an abundance of money to put into a car, I'd probably put something on it. I wouldn't care if it knocked a clip off if I hit the wall, or doored a car down the straightaway or something like that.
If you had $1 million, you'd still be tighter than Dick's hat, man. You would. It'd still be machine oil part, because I honestly think that you enjoy doing it.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
You enjoy doing it.
No, I do.
Oh man, wow. Corey always coming in with a good one-liner.
Wow, I just know he would.
That's what it's good for.
Oh man, going back to Martinsville last year. Since we've went back with everybody, and you kind of had a really good run, and it didn't end all that well. Take us back to that time, and you've obviously had time to see how the wreck transpired. What did you think after looking back?
Man, it's that was an awesome race. I mean, I really thought when you put it into perspective, somebody who just dreams of going to races at Martinsville all the years growing up, and then to finally get the opportunity to do it, and I'd count me as having success up there. I mean, I've made the race more times than I've went home. I went up there with Rodney many times when I was helping him, and I mean, there for 4 or 5 years we didn't even make the race. And I know the rules changed and stuff, as far as how to get into the race, but obviously we had our car the best we'd had it all year. After running it all season, kind of you know what you need at that point of the season, and I was just tickled to have a competitive car. I made it in through the heat race, even though I finished 10th. That's the first time I didn't have to run the last chance race to make the big race. I mean, I knew what I had. We started the race. I think I started, 38th or whatever it was, or 32nd or something. And I made it all the way up to third. I mean, I passed a bunch of good cars that were fast, but they just didn't have the longevity it takes. And I was really disappointed in how the ending of the race went. I'd run the whole race, and I honestly felt like it was one of the best races I've driven in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I took care of my equipment. I didn't burn my brakes up. I gave everybody room. I didn't get any. I had no donuts on my car by the end of the race until the last lap. I mean, I really felt really good, and I really felt like I put myself in a really good position to win the race. Now, the whole scoring aspect of it, who knows how they've come up with all that. At that, on the second green-white checker, the next to the last green-white checker, I was about 7th or 8th, and then next thing I know, they're lining me up third. So I just took it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You wasn't going to turn that down.
Not asking a lot of questions there, are you?
No, but I mean, I really felt like, I can't describe that feeling of coming down the backstretch, coming to the green flag, and you're sitting there in third place. I had made my mind up. I was going to do the opposite of CE, obviously. I was hoping he would take the bottom. And if he took the bottom, I'd taken that cone every restart pretty much the whole race. I was going up to the top, and I was going to beat Corey to the line, whether I, had to give it back or not.
Yeah.
And, CE took the outside, and then I come, but that feeling, coming to the green flag and you're rolling down to turn 3, you can't describe it. And that feeling that I got it right now just talking about it. It just makes me want to go back and do it again. It's taken me 7 years of racing Martinsville to have the chance to win the race. I mean, it does not happen often. And
it came full circle, because I remember the first time you made the race, you were more excited just making the race than most people when they win the race.
Exactly. Yeah.
And here we are, 7 years later, you got a chance to win the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, and it just, it didn't work out. I had my battery was going dead, so I kept having to get jumped off after the red flags.
Got you interstate.
And they wait too much.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I can't help that, but I kept having dead batteries, so every time you had a red flag, you had to shut it off to keep from getting hot. So then, you're basically running off the alternator, and I don't know if it was just a combination. I had it planned out in my head how I was going to do the restart. I was going to try to be at Corey's bumper at the finish line. I mean, I wasn't going to go down there and lane rigs everybody, but I was going to make it interesting for sure. And I just, I don't know. It just didn't work out.
Yeah, it definitely didn't work out.
I think as soon as I got ready to take off is when Trevor hit me in the back and lifted me up. And then from hitting the gas all the way to the flag stand, I was just spinning.
Yep.
And
then it all went downhill from there.
It all went downhill from there.
Yep.
Next thing you know, I'm looking at the stars.
That's not the first time you've done that, though.
No, it's not. But man, I never stopped. I went up in the air, come back down, and completed the lap. I think I crossed the line in 5th or 6th. And I stopped after we crossed the line. Like, I remember the drivers meeting very, very clear, what the process was as far as the scoring. And
they didn't.
They didn't.
No.
I come around 6th, and I did stop. I mean, my radiator was busted. I was riding on the frame rail because my shock was broke. Like, the car, it felt like it was just going to fall apart. So I wasn't going to drive around for another lap. And I stopped, and, they scored me 13th. But, whatever. That's still my best finish I've had up there. So. And just to have the chance to win is good enough for me in itself, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the funniest thing about Thomas. He was knocking the body off a car. We were at Ace Speedway one night, and Rodney Cook drove over the top of his entire car and ripped the whole body off.
Mm-hmm.
There's no body on it at all, not one body panel. It's just a rolling chassis and a motor and a transmission out there. And so they said you got to have the top on the car and the windshield.
All I had to have was the windshield.
The
I
windshield.
didn't have a piece of plexiglass in the trailer.
So they get about 2 pieces of Scotch tape. I only think they had duct tape. And put this thing on there. Well, it starts to come off. So I look, and I'm thinking he's got his left hand holding the top of the car and the windshield onto the car.
That's a true
and they
story.
finally black flagged it because that wasn't flying. But he's driving with one hand just wide open, holding the body on the car with his hand.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yes.
Speaking of Ace, I seen that they were going with the NASCAR rule book this year, so the Harrington will be allowed there, which I think I think looking back, they probably made the right decision keeping it out. I think it cost them some cars.
Definitely.
But how do you feel about the direction they're going?
Obviously, I think a lot of Robert. Robert's a smart guy. He's been around a long time, and he knows what he's doing. So his decision to not allow that motor, I understand why.
Yeah.
And I definitely think it cost them some cars, but
sure.
I think they're on the right track. Open it back up to that. I mean, now with the Ford upgrade and our upgrade on our spec engine, I think it'll be a whole lot more competitive and a lot closer. But they're doing a lot of good things over there. I'm excited. I'm in such a tough spot with my job. It is so difficult for me to race on Fridays. Coming from Raleigh, I'm usually in Raleigh till 6 o'clock. Practice starts at 5 minutes to 6. So it's really difficult for me to make it. And that is the sole reason why I don't get to race there as much as I want to. It's just because it's not practical for me. But I really hope, I can find a way to get over there some this year. It's the closest track to the house. It's home. It's where we started. Right. So I definitely feel like with our equipment where we're at, we got just as good a chance as anybody, to win. So wouldn't want to go if we didn't.
Yeah, and I know, man, that's your home track. That's where you've always raced at and everything. You talking about, everybody'd love to win Martinsville, of course, but for you to win the Rodney Cook race, I know would be the most special thing ever to you.
It would.
Because I know your whole race career pretty much you modeled yourself pretty much kind of after him.
I did, yeah. Rodney was very instrumental in getting me into late model racing, and just, that's such a good friend. I think of him often. We did a lot together, through my high school years, hanging out with him and Nookie and the crew and going to the track with them on Friday night, Saturday night. To win that race, it would probably mean more to me personally than Martinsville.
Yeah.
Martinsville's Martinsville.
Yeah.
We would all race for a trophy up there and not the $25,000. Just being honest. But
I've always told people that they'd like, well, nobody'd go if they wasn't paying that much. I've always said,
true.
if they said you got to pay $25,000 to win, there'd still be just about as many cars.
You're right.
It's Martinsville.
Yeah.
It's a once a year opportunity. You won't, and it's Fox said it's like hitting the lottery. it's like hitting the lottery.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, I think about how I ended up at the end of the race. You know, it is. You know,
Right.
I mean, had drove all the way up from the back, and then at the last restart, it's like it's just handed right there to me. You got a chance to win the race. Might as well try to make the most of it. But it'd mean a lot to win that Rodney Cook race. I definitely, even if I have to, dial back how much racing I do, just because of circumstances of life and everything, I still want to continue to try to go win that race. And just winning in Rodney's memory, would mean more to me than any other race.
Yeah, and that race, getting more and more popular every year. We heard Will Burns talking about, possibly going up and running that race, and he's never been. I don't think any of the Hawk Macaws.
I've heard a few people that's already been talking about it.
So I mean, it could be an even stronger field of
Dustin Rumley's going to be back at Ace full time this year.
That's
what I heard.
Driving Kurt's car.
Yeah, I believe so.
That'll be good.
Is he running full time? I haven't talked to him.
I think full time.
I think he's on here. I think I seen him on here, so maybe he'll answer that. I mean, I don't know for sure. But that'll be another guy you can put in the mix there every week.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's hard to beat. He's still been racing some too. I think
he's racing legend cars. Yeah.
Is that racing?
I don't know. I never done it.
I'm kidding.
I never done it, but it sure does seem like it's pretty cool. I mean,
Langley has never done it neither.
I'd do it once.
You know why?
Because I wouldn't fit it in the window. I don't even know if you get in the window on this. I'm not really sure.
It's got a door.
They got doors.
I'll probably be all right.
Yeah, you'd be all right.
You have to get a little extra wide door, but whatever,
Look at her, all you see is shoulders.
Speaking of your impressions, man, your impression of Bill Belichick, I got a kick out of you talking about it last night.
What?
I'm not even gonna say it.
I wouldn't go there.
him with his wife, but
yeah.
TJ Rich chiming in says that Dustin Rumley will run full time, so that'll be somebody who could win the championship there.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
He's got what, 3 now? 3?
I think
2
so.
or 3?
Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's good to see. It's good to see Ace, back up, running full time, every year. And that was a huge challenge that the Turners took on there. I mean, I run some races there, and I can tell you, the dealing with the community and dealing with all the things that come along with Abraham and all that was extremely hard to do.
Abraham's Yeah.
He's a character. I got nothing bad to say about him, but he's a character for sure.
He's interesting. Yeah.
No doubt. I still think we should play the full length of that clip of you
talking to
him on the phone. Yeah.
I mean, he said it's kind of like buying a steak. He said you don't know if it's good, so you go there and try it. I said for $2.1 million, I'm going to do some investigation on my steak.
Right.
You
But see, dude thought that Jeff Gordon was going to be racing there in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, he did.
I think he had some misinformation is what I heard. So.
Well, I mean,
once again, before I spend $2 million, I'm going to find out what I'm spending it on.
Whoever sold him, I'm guessing it's the dude Dave or whatever, did a really good sales job. That's all I can say.
I don't know, man. But yeah, his whole conversation on the phone. I got off the phone. I just sat there and looked at a wall for about 30 minutes because I didn't know what just happened. But
yeah, it was. I remember he called me after. I'm gonna play this for you. He's playing the recording of it, and I'm like, oh my God, this dude's an idiot.
I tell you, I think the track's in really good hands with Robert and Jason now.
I do too.
I've known both of them for a very long time, and I know Robert's work ethic, and he's gonna put everything he can into making that deal successful.
I agree.
And you could talk about any track and think of personal things you want to see improved or this and that.
Yeah.
But Robert, he's really smart, and he's a racer, and he knows what racers need and what racers want and why they come and race. And I think Jason knows a lot of the marketing aspect of it and running as a business aspect of it, and Robert knows how to run it as a racetrack from a racer standpoint.
Yeah, and it's such a hard place because you try to get sponsors to put billboards up, and they're thinking about this last guy that was down here who got him for $4,000, which
I run into it every time.
You ran 2 or 3 races there, and you got people talking about, well, I need $2,000 from you. It's like, from who? From some guy 3 years ago.
They're building something out back. I'm like, I wasn't here then, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. But I mean, there was a lot of those situations, and I don't know how much of that Jason and Robert and them have had. We're going to talk to them. I think we're actually going to go to Ace Speedway to have a show the week of their first race. So
cool.
That's one of the road shows we're going to do this year.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be really cool.
Yeah.
But that place there needed somebody who was a local.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I even felt like an outsider, and I've been going there my whole life, but I didn't live there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and you could see when Brad was there, you know, the success he had because he had just that connection with the local racers and the local fans, and I think that's what Robert and Jason bring to the table is they have that connection with you know, the locals, and they know how the locals think, and you know, all that, and I think that's important.
Oh, it's definitely important. And Robert's been there as long as my dad's been there. So they raced together back in the 80s. So Robert has seen the track in its absolute prime.
Through everything.
And he's experienced it. He's raced it, and he's seen it through its hardest times.
Bill Cantina. I mean, yeah.
I finally did get my check from him.
Did you ever find the transponders?
No.
Transponders over in the box in the building. Then we look and somebody's selling them on eBay.
Yep.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, daily. Yep.
Yeah.
Zach Bruinger chiming in over here talking about Hickory possibly resealing the racetrack. So I don't know if that's true, and I don't know how that'll affect the racing over there this year.
What's he chiming in on?
Facebook over here.
Hey, just yell it. You're sitting right there.
Wow.
He's sitting
I don't know about the resealing. I can't think of a track I raced on that was resealed and I repaved. That'd be a different story.
Sealed?
Yeah, they've sealed it there before. I'm pretty sure.
Even the racing group too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, I don't really understand that last comment, but anyways, you know, Hickory's another place that you know, has had, you know, some moderate success. You know, a lot of people give Kevin a lot of crap, but man, you know, it just keeps on motoring on. And the limited class last year was awesome. I mean, it's been good, you know, but it was really awesome last year.
I mean, I've heard people complain, but I've never seen what they're complaining about.
Well,
you know,
I understand some of it. Some of it is. I mean, like sometimes when people would complain to me when I was running a race, I'd be like, you know, I can't really say this, but I agree with you. Okay, you know what I mean? I get it. You know what I mean? I get what you're saying, but I can't fix that part right now. You know what I mean? And I think that's a lot of, you know, the things that goes on with all the promoters. I mean, I think, you know, that's a big thing. Have you raced at Hickory?
I have. I raced at Hickory a couple years ago for the Bobby Isaac Memorial. It was the first time I'd even seen the place. We showed up to race that morning.
Different, ain't it?
And it's different, but I like it. I want to go back. I've regretted. I come to watch the Bobby Isaac last year when, you know, Philip was racing, and we had raced with Philip all year.
Right.
And we obviously took the weekend off because we were getting close to Martinsville. But I was like, man, I wish I would have went. You know, just because it was a good race, and it's a really fun track. It's definitely a character. It's its own character.
Tyler Williams wants to know if you've given any thought to running the Cars Tour race at Ace in May.
I plan. I better not use that because I don't know for sure. But I want to run the 30,000 to win Orange County, and I want to do the race at Ace this year. It takes a lot of money to run those races, but they do pay. They do pay pretty good. So
yeah, the trade-off's pretty good there.
Any race I go to, I have to be conscious of that. You know, I mean, it's just the facts, and you know, I definitely want to. Last year they raced against South Boston, and I got caught up in the points race up there, and you know, had to race and miss the Cars Tour, but I'd love to do it.
Jesus, Dylan Hauser chiming in said some racetracks get new pavement, Hickory gets the caulk gun out. Jeez. He's another one who's good for some one-liners.
Yeah, him and his dad.
Bobby McCarty says that nothing is like Bowman Gray, of course, according to Corey
I want to
Latham.
race there. I want to go there once, not with my car.
He's the first guest we've had.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've asked all of our guests,
right,
everybody that's come here, and you're the first one that automatically said you'll do it.
Oh, I'll do it in a heartbeat.
Was you there when Rodney raced at Bowman Gray?
I went when Rodney went.
I know you were there, Corey.
Yeah.
You know,
driving Mike Robertson's car.
Yeah.
I don't care if
he had a ball.
Oh yeah.
I don't care if it's a mini stock or if it's one of the limited cars or even a modified. You know, I'm down to do it at least once.
We can make it happen.
I want to. I won't take my stuff up there though.
I can't say that I blame you there. I mean, it'd have to be a lot of fun to go race there, I would think.
You know, I struggle sometimes. I go quite a bit, you know, on off weekends and watch, and I've been up there sometimes. I'm like, man, this is cool. This is what people come to see. And then I've been up there sometimes, been like, the racing really ain't the racing that I'm used to.
Right.
You know? So, you know, but bottom line, it's exciting, and people enjoy it, and people come and watch it, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
A lot of people go and enjoy that.
You'll see generations sitting together.
Right.
4 and 5 generations, no doubt.
Well, and it's the same, just the fans are the same as the drivers. I mean, like, the people that race there ain't many new ones.
Mm-mm.
Like, they've been racing there forever.
Yeah. There's not some up-and-coming kids that's going to Bowman Gray a whole lot.
No.
Right.
Most of them ain't got guts enough to go there. Oh wow! Bobby McCarty said that Corey will be your PR guy when you go to Bowman Gray.
That's fine. Yeah, I'll be his PR guy.
I'm down with that. I'll tell you something else I want to do.
Bobby can hold my stuff and walk around.
Bobby can spot for me. I'll tell you something else I want to do, and Corey ain't gonna like this, but I want to drive a dirt car. My dad started out racing dirt, and I love some dirt late model racing, and that's something I'll race a dirt
Corey
car.
don't understand racing.
I've never been to. I've been to 311. Okay.
But that's not going to the dirt track. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you.
I got Mike Fulp saying MF'er on the PA in front of kids and everything drunk. I mean,
Right. Now, if you want to go to a real dirt race, we'll go to a real dirt race one day. And it's
not
going to be at 311.
What's that one in West Virginia?
I mean, there's several in West Virginia.
That one is,
Tyler County is the most
Tyler,
badass racetrack on the planet.
Yeah.
Period. Beckley Motor Speedway is really incredible too. Princeton's a pretty good little racetrack. Ohio Valley's really good. I-77's hit or miss, but I mean they have some really really good. Elkins is another one that's another really good. Oh yeah, they got dirt. Dude, they got dirt tracks everywhere, man.
Wow.
Yeah, they and the dirt racing up there is spectacular. Last time I went, they had full fields and everything. Really awesome. And one time I went to Tyler County, which I've been there many times, but went there for the Hillbilly 100.
Yeah, that's the one I heard about.
That's the biggest race in that area, obviously. And we went there, and it rained a little bit throughout the day, and it's a 2-day event. We was there till 7 a.m. Okay, we left. They were still racing. They only got finished racing because somebody went through the wall and the fence on the backside, and they had to fix it. That's the only reason.
I went to 311 one time this year, and I had a race the next day. It was on a Friday night show. I think I got home. We got home like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. That's one of the tough things about dirt. It fits my lifestyle. I can go ahead and tell you that dirt racing fits my lifestyle way better than going to a 9 a.m. practice for a car store race. I can tell you that.
Langley,
I didn't know that 9 a.m. existed. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Is your dad going to drive any more anything or mess with the vintage cars or anything or?
Man, he could. He'd still have it. It wouldn't take much for him to get back in the car.
I didn't know if he'd plan to do it every once in a while.
No.
You got friends and stuff.
He's enjoying what we're doing, and he gets just as much satisfaction out of working on the car and going to the track with us. I don't really think you'd see him driving much more.
Yeah, because years past he drove Monk stuff some.
Yep.
Right. A couple people, chiming in here. I'm going through some of the comments. Tyler Williams says the best part of Bowman Gray is the people watching, and watching the people is definitely entertaining there.
Yeah.
Stephen over here in the crowd, he says that dirt is for growing potatoes. And it is for growing potatoes, but you can also race on it. Bobby McCarty says that he will be your spotter. And Troy McCarty says that Corey is always looking for someone to carry his purse.
We mentioned a lot of the Virginia, dirt tracks. My buddy Dave C. at the Virginia Motor Speedway in Saluda is top notch, and of course Mason Dunn chimed in with that. But yeah, my buddy up there, Dave C. He is the man. That is a top notch facility.
Yeah, I've always heard good stuff about that place up there.
Yeah, I've never been. That's one of the few dirt tracks I can think of that. Of course, I've never been to anything over there. I've never been to Langley. I've never been to Dominion. Never went to Old Dominion. Southampton's as close as I've ever got to anything.
We're going this year.
I know. We will announce that later. But it's amazing. It's amazing how many tracks I've been to in all these states and never been over there at all. And Langley Speedway is about as inviting of a place as you'll ever have.
Oh, it's one. I mean, it's a nice place. I hate that it's so far away.
I have to get a passport to get there. I mean, it took forever. I mean,
it's a long ride.
Matt West said 4.5 hours, and like 6 hours later, I had to fill up twice. No lie, I had to fill up twice on the way up there. But once I got there, It's the most beautiful track. Bill Mullis is like, I hit like I was some movie star or something. He was like wanting to shake my hand every 15 seconds.
Yeah.
But he was the nicest guy ever, you know,
Yeah.
and like everything's accommodating and
Yeah.
beautiful place.
Yeah,
It is.
super.
And
super
the whole
nice
area,
people
the whole
for
area
sure.
is beautiful around it too. Yeah.
Super nice people. I mean, if I knew Shane Laws was on, I'd talk crap about him. But I mean, you know, since I ain't seen him on here, I ain't gonna talk anything because I don't really mean it. But you know, great. You know, looking forward to going out there. We're definitely going to be there for the Hamlin race. I'm definitely coming, despite what Mason Dunn says.
I definitely won't be there for the Hamlin race.
Yeah, well,
I got to take 2 days off of work to do that.
well, you're gonna have to. You
I
got to
wanna
get your
do it.
priorities
Just
in order.
Plan ahead. Save
If
up.
somebody wants to pay for me to go, I'll go. But man, it just costs so much money.
Well, you heard it here. He's looking for sponsors for the
Always.
Hampton Heat. Bill Mullis will be calling you.
That's the Denny Hammond race. I'll probably do the heat regardless.
He's looking
Yeah.
for sponsors for every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know what Doc's doing over here. But, we're
I
trying
might
to have a
to
radio
save your
show.
wife. You might want to check on your wife over here.
She dies.
Oh, man.
Anyways, it was a good line. Anyways, I don't have time for that right now. Tyler Williams wants to know about your on-track rivalry with Brad Allen, with your dad's on-track rivalry with Brad Allen.
Who did my dad not have a rivalry with at some point?
Wow.
I don't know.
I mean, he's literally about as hard-nosed as Rodney Cook was. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they used to have it out. Yeah, I think we've had scuffles and arguments with a little bit of everybody.
Gary Young, Brian King, all of them.
I've had Gary Young, so mad at me, and I seen him. I seen him a couple weeks ago. Man, he's got a business. Everything's going really good for him. But
Yeah.
man, we can get along really great now. but
Prayers
man,
going out to him though, because
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen his granddaughter and him. They got in a wreck this past week, so
But
hope
yeah,
everything
I
turns
mean,
okay with that.
For sure. I mean, Brad Allen, that was a pretty fun. And then I got to race against Brad, and of course, Dad and Brian King. That was a big deal back in the '90s and 2000s, and there for a while it was them two winning all the races.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, Brian King. It probably has had a rivalry with a little bit of everybody that's ever raced a modified there for sure. Hate that he's not racing anymore. I guess getting caught cheating will do that for you sometimes. Whatever. Mason Dunn says that he'll believe that I'm coming to the Hamlin race when I get a speeding ticket in Hampton. Lord, I don't need any more of those. I've spent enough money in the last 5 years. I've probably spent enough money to pay for your racing for the next 5 years off of tickets. So
I was with him one night. We leave the Hamlin race at Richmond.
Yeah.
We're flying down the road. Mike Neff's in the front seat with the computer on. And I didn't know that. I didn't know in Virginia you can't have an open screen in the front seat, a phone, anything.
Really?
So the cops pull us over. Yeah. But luckily, the cops knew who RACE22 was. Because Laylee said, how do I get out of this ticket? Because it's already like 70 and a 55, something else. The cop
It was bad.
Cop looked at him. He said, free stuff. He said, what do you mean? He said, free T-shirts. So he's like, we opened up the back on the side of the road.
Oh, I got them. I'm like, yo,
Sheriffs.
get that stuff out. Come on, hurry up.
So gave them all T-shirts and they let us go.
It was great. It was great. I mean, and there was cops pulling up everywhere. I mean, there's like 4 or 5. I mean, we've handing out T-shirts.
Yeah.
I've gotten out a couple
That would
tickets.
never happen to me ever. No.
Oh, I sure could have used some of that swag a couple of weeks ago.
For sure. I don't know if it would have worked where you were.
Probably not.
Most people in the Winston area
I
don't
forgot to tell
like
him-
RACE22 because of Corey.
Well,
so.
I should have told him I know Corey, and I bet he'd let me off.
He probably
You'd have been in
locked you
jail.
up. He would have locked you up.
Was it a Winston cop?
Yeah.
Well, then you would have been fine because Winston cops love me.
Corey thinks everybody loves him.
No, the Winston cops love me because I actually wrote a story about him one time. Remember?
No.
Yeah.
Do I remember you writing a story? That's been so long.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
We don't even have archives of that stuff, okay? That's how long ago that was.
been a
It was on
while.
paper.
It's been a while.
From a typewriter.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Chris Holmes wants to know if Jerry still has his modified.
He does. Yeah, it's still at the house. We've probably robbed about every part we could off of it to run our late model. But
So it'd need a lot of help to race.
it does. Well, it's that chassis was built in like 1989. It was built by Warrior Race Cars, and it's been updated many times throughout the years. And it would just, I doubt we could do enough work to it now to kind of make it where it would pass safety inspection and stuff for the races now. But I thought really hard about building another modified last year or two, just because Ace was coming back and it's affordable, and that's what we started. That's what my dad always did. But I do have a special place for modified racing.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, you said that's where you cut your teeth, and obviously your dad spent so many years there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big modified fan, never have been. Ace modifieds are pretty good. I do like them.
And
they
that's my experience is the Ace modifieds. I mean, we got out of that to get late model racing, so we could go late model racing, so we could go to other tracks. I mean, when you race a division that's just at one racetrack, you're stuck.
Yeah.
And man, it's cool. Yeah, I'd love to drive a tour car one time. Even if it's at the stadium, come on.
Dylan Hauser chiming in, and he's correct. He said that Corey's stories consist of a paragraph on Facebook, and sometimes an unreadable paragraph on Facebook. Oh man, maybe giving him hell will get him out of retirement. When he does right, give him credit. He's had some of the most far-reaching stories that we've had on RACE22, back 15 years ago when he used to write. There was a lot of, most of the people that he wrote about were retired, though. You have to get him a new generation of racers here.
I think Speedy and Rodney kept him busy there for a couple years.
Yeah, they did.
For sure.
Speedy and Rodney for sure did. And Dustin.
Yeah, that whole deal.
Yep.
Anything with Rodney.
Yep. I got a perfect crying towel for him. Still the best interview ever.
Oh, man.
They want to wreck cars? I got 4 of them. Let's go.
That's a direct quote.
They want to wreck cars? I got 4 of them. Tear them up, I'll fix it.
My favorite was when he was talking about hitting a man. Hitting a
That's
man
the
going
same
in the
interview.
corner. Yeah, I know it was.
Hit a man going in the corner, that's wrecking a guy. Hit him center off, that's called racing.
And talking about he has a whiny father. That was a good line too. Yeah. I mean, not that I like them. So
yeah,
I
like
them against
too.
them, but this is true too. I don't know if it's true or not. Mason Dunn said that Corey is the one journalist that Alan Dietz doesn't hate.
Say that again.
He said that Corey is the one journalist that Alan Dietz doesn't hate.
He don't talk to me. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think that's false. Just saying. Not the part about him not talking to you. I'm pretty sure that's true.
I don't cover the past series, so I don't know nothing about it.
Justin Mincy, we're talking about the Ace modifieds. Justin Mincy said that the Ace mods are always compared to the SK mods, and that they're awesome race cars, and they definitely are. And I think a lot of times you get divisions like that, like the limited races at a lot of these racetracks are way better than the late models, and modifieds. I mean, the tour mods, I've never enjoyed them, but I enjoy the crap out of the Ace modifieds, and even when they've went, kind of in a series type deal, they've been really good.
They're a lot of fun to drive too. I mean, you definitely can tell they're a lot faster and a lot dartier.
And some tracks will just suit them better. Ace is a perfect track for them, I think.
Right.
It's good racing there. You're talking about that chassis being too old. I think modified chassis, people use old modified chassis more than any other cars, though, don't they?
It's got some small bars in it that would have to be made bigger.
Because I like Burt Meyer's car, he runs at Bowman Gray's like a 88 model or something.
Yeah, it's got some 1.5 bars in it.
Well,
gotcha. Mason Dunn said that he loved Rodney versus McReynolds at Southside.
It wasn't Rodney, it was Marcus Ambrose.
Yeah, but he was in
Rodney's car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the craziest person I ever met in my life.
Marcus.
Yeah, he was choking the life out of the kid where he was kicking the pedals and stuff, choking him to death. And I said, "Well, how's the car?" "Oh, it's great, mate." And I was like, he just starts smiling. I said, 10 seconds ago you were choking a man to death right there, and he just never said nothing about it. I said, "Oh, this dude's crazy."
Wow.
It's a funny story. I don't know, I guess I can say this at this point, but Marcus never paid Rodney for his extra tires he bought for that race.
He didn't?
Nope.
And gave him his car.
And then bought some tires and stuff, and I guess he's back in Australia, mate.
Yeah.
All right. That was an interesting tidbit we didn't expect to get.
I could see stuff like it happening, though.
Oh, man. Next week, not that we're wrapping up right now, but next week I wanted to let everybody know that we're having a kind of a roundtable discussion next week. I've got Kenny Hunley, who's a former NASCAR Wheeling All-American Series director. Got him coming on. Mike Bushy is coming on. I don't know what his official title. He's on here, so he'll tell us what his official titles are here. Babysitter, probably.
The man. I don't know.
He's the man for sure, no doubt about that.
He's short guy.
He's real sharp, yeah.
But he'll be on, and Scott Kilby, former Hickory Motor Speedway tech man, he will be on. So we'll have those three minds here, and I've actually got one other guy that I'm trying to get up
I
with.
love Scott Kilby. I'll never forget when they announced he was going to be the head tech guy at Hickory. All the drivers was like, oh, hell.
Yeah.
Everything we've done, he's already done it.
Oh, yeah, he done lived that.
He's done did this.
Well, that's like going to Ace. I mean, you can pull something over Robert Turner that he hasn't done?
Nope.
There is no way in the world.
No,
He's been there and done that on all those things.
Yep.
That's right.
Looking ahead, the next race I guess we'll cover. Overlooking the icebreaker there. The next race that we're going to cover over here in the crowd, chiming in, Zach Bruinger says Lynn Carroll, and that's probably gonna be a no. I'm just thinking he's not coming here to talk to us. But the next race we're going to cover is the 10,000 to win limited race at Greenville Pickens. Man, I'm looking forward to getting down there. I always like going to Greenville, man. That's March 2nd. Anthony Anders, since he's taken over, I went once or twice before he took over, but he treats, I don't know if he treats all the media like this. I assume he does. But dude, when we roll in, man, he is fantastic.
Really?
He treats us, anything you need, whatever you want to do. I mean, dude, I get to be a part of the tech process down there. I'm just standing here. Look, of course, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at anyways, so it don't really help me a whole lot. I mean, they're over here cheating. I don't know it.
I'd like to go check it. I've been there one time my entire life.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good race. I mean, just reading, different limited guys, talking about, just talking about their Jeff Bomar. He knows exactly who I'm talking about. The other dude is, because he said good luck with that guy. But, that limited race I think is going to be really good. I've watched them, on Facebook just talking back and forth, some of the limited guys talking about going to that race. I feel like they're going to have a really good field. And I feel like their fields down there at Greenville are growing, quite a bit, anyways. And I think they've made some good moves getting Rick Hunter in there as the tech guy. Was talking to another guy that's going to have 3 cars in that race today. So, I mean, looks like they're definitely going to have. Oh man, I gotta stay off these comments because they crack me up. But looks like they're going to have a really good. And Zach Bruinger chiming in from over here talking about how good Greenville treats the racers, and he was telling me a story about going down there last week. I won't repeat it, because it's not my place to. But just talking about how good they treat their racers, and they pay really good down there. So hopefully they have a really good season.
Yeah, it'd be good to see.
I've only been there once. I went to a K&N race. I think Joey Logano won.
I went to the only thing I remember. I went to a yo-yo race, and Roger Lee Newton rode over top of Jamie Caudle's car, and then wrecked him, and then parked in his pit and got out and just stood there.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah,
you was calling the race.
Yeah, and Corey LaJoy was on fire going into 3
on
up
top
on
of
the top of the wall.
Car.
Yeah. That was a fun night.
Yeah, that was a lot of stuff
spectacular. It was spectacular. Jake Crum win that race? I think so. I believe so. I'm not 100% on that one, but I believe so. Mason Dunn said that live from Franklin County Walmart. I don't live in Franklin County, thanks. It's Fight Night USA with Lynn Carroll and Langley Austin. I seen him in Walmart. That was the Salem Walmart, but there won't be no fight.
Said he had his camo on.
He did. He's hunting. So he had a gun.
Was stealth.
He had a gun, and I didn't. So there wasn't gonna be no fight. I can tell you that right now. Oh man. But getting back, to talking about you, Thomas. Just man, glad that we got you on here tonight because despite the fact that you're one of the low budget guys, I mean you race everywhere, and I mean you go all over the place, and you run pretty good everywhere you go.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole reason we went late model racing is just to kind of go to different tracks. You don't really know how you stack up. You see so many people get so good at one track, and then they can't go anywhere else and be competitive. So I mean, and it's been a struggle. My first race at South Boston, I think I went like 13 laps down in a green flag race, and went from that to competing for wins this year and this past year, and getting lapped at Ace to winning a race over there. So it's definitely enjoyable. It makes it enjoyable when you can go other places and try stuff out.
Is there any tracks you raced at that you would like to go race at?
Motor
that
Mile.
you haven't raced. That you haven't raced.
That he hasn't raced.
Yeah,
That
that's
I
what I
hadn't
meant.
raced
That you
at.
hadn't raced
I
at
hadn't
before.
raced at Myrtle Beach yet.
You'd
But
like to do
I
that.
will. I keep saying I want to go to the 400, but I usually have a tore-up car or two broke after Martinsville to go. I hadn't been to. I hadn't raced at Greenville Pickens. That'd be pretty cool. I've seen that place one time, and I thought that was a really neat place. I mean, I hadn't been to Kingsport. I've been to watch, and I think I would like that. I could see that fitting my driving style a little bit. Now that
it's
they've
kind of races like Ace. I mean, as far as like braking and all that.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty physical too. I mean, people say I'm physical all the time, so I think I could get in there and do pretty good, hold my own. So, I tell you, this is not late model, but the most fun I think I've probably had racing was I did a sports car race at VIR one time, and that was a lot of fun.
How did you do that?
It's the Chump Car Series. The team I drove for, had a full-on built, race car. The guy had an unlimited amount of money to put into it. I think those kind of cars, they start with like $500 or $1,000 cars, and then you're penalized for however much more you have in the car. I mean, this car had to have the most penalty out of the whole, all the cars there. But man, that was a blast. Getting to run the full course
Road racing,
it's a 24-hour race. I got a whole full hour and a half stint in, and that was a lot of fun. I would love to go back and race at VIR again.
All right, you ever been to Anderson?
I've never been there. I've only seen it on YouTube.
I didn't figure you'd been there.
Yeah.
I mean, being a Friday night, then they really don't have any Saturday night races to speak of.
Yeah. No, I'd like to, obviously there's tracks I'd like to go to. I'd like to go to all of them. I want to go to Dominion. I think, that's with Phillip and Peyton running up there pretty good. I like to think I could go up there and race too. So, it seems like a pretty cool place. It's a long ways from home, though.
Yeah, Phillip didn't fare too well when he went to Anderson. He never raced, but he didn't look very good in practice. So he got rained out that night. But Bobby McCarty said that Kingsport is nowhere close to Ace. Well, in proximity for sure.
I guess he would know. He's raced there.
Right, he's raced in both. But yeah, Will Bellamy chiming in. He is the PR guy at Kingsport, and he helps us out at RACE22 some. He says he definitely wants you to come up. And
I'd love to. I actually, I had grandparents that lived up there in Nicholsville. It's probably about 30 minutes from Kingsport, so we would go up there and spend some weekends up there. My whole life. They've passed away now, so I don't get up there. We went 2 years ago. Was the first time I went to a race up there, and we went up one weekend just to kind of reminisce and spend some time up there for the weekend. And that was it's a cool place. I mean,
they have it. Karen takes great care of everybody. It's awesome to go there. Tons of cars, tons of fans. They have really good fan count there.
There for a while they had such specific track rules that it kind of made it hard to come in. You had to have shocks, and they did different tires and stuff. Yeah. But I think now they've kind of gotten a little bit closer to kind of what we run, everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely. Bobby McCarty says that you use 3 times as much brake there as you do at Martinsville.
I better buy some pads in. I try to make that stuff last as long as I can, but I'll have to come off some money to go up there and race, I guess.
Yeah, they do have 2 Saturday races in case you're really interested in going up there. They open up on Saturday, March 23rd, and then they run the next Saturday, which is the 30th, and then they switch to Friday nights. Mason Dunn said he hadn't been to Kingsport since Pope and Nate Monteith was the hot rivalry. Man, I'd like to have both of those guys back there in a rivalry again, because that was a good time at Kingsport. Those two. And then you had everybody else that raced there, Lee Tizzett. Everybody was in the mix that year. You know what I mean?
And those guys, they'd come to Martinsville and be some of the top drivers there. I think in recent years, Chris Van Dyke and Chad Fincham, whatnot, they'd win at Motor Mile or wherever they could go race at.
Yeah. Chris Van Dyke I don't know why he's always been good at Martinsville. I mean, he finished second to Jamie Cottle in 2002, 2003, somewhere in that neighborhood. Probably should have won that race. I think he was a little too nice that day, which was not usual for him back then. Now he's a whole lot less aggressive, but
less aggressive. Did you see his car?
Okay, I understand.
They look like a wheeling modified when it started to race.
Compared to him back then, he is less aggressive today.
I got you.
But hell of a racer for sure.
Matter of fact, what did Jamie Cottle the one? Yeah.
Do what?
What Jamie Cottle the one that he got?
Yeah,
the heat race?
yeah,
it was Jamie Cottle.
Yep.
Yeah.
He should have done that for the win.
He was thinking about that Martinsville race, maybe. I guess.
Yeah. I would have much rather done that for a win than for the first lap of the heat race. And I don't even remember exactly what happened between the two of them.
It was the first lap of the heat race.
It was the first lap of the heat
I remember what Jamie Cottle told me what happened.
Yeah.
I got tore up in that deal too.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was anytime you get a wreck that early, there's going to be a lot of cars getting some damage.
It was the first lap of the first heat race, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
First lap going in turn 3. Yep.
It's crazy how that happens.
That's the year that Josh Oakley went over me at Martinsville, and I had my roof ripped off up there. Yep. That was the first year I didn't make the race.
Speaking of Josh Oakley, somebody was chiming in a few minutes ago, and I can't find it now, but somebody was chiming in a few minutes ago about all the work that they're doing at Orange County trying to get ready for the 30,000 to win race. I expect they, got a lot of work to do to try to get it. Over the last few years, they hadn't really done a whole lot of work there. But I know I can't remember the dude's name. It works back pit gate, and he works at Ace too.
Donald.
Yep, that's it.
Donald, yeah.
Yeah, but he told me they was going to be doing a bunch of painting and trying to get the place spruced up.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of cars there for 30,000 to win.
I wish so bad they'd repave that place, but man, it'd be scary fast.
They repaved it, good
super
Lord.
Fast.
Wow,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be.
We'd have to run on 75s.
Yeah, you run those F80s that they were on out there in Tucson or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about that race. Just the way the whole Cars Tour is doing a really good job of the way they're promoting their races and stuff. And that whole race, that's going to be a really spectacular event, I do believe. I mean, I really hope I plan on doing it. If everything works out, I plan on doing it. Ace. Orange County is a little bit closer to home than Ace is. I just hadn't raced up, as much there, and it's one of my favorite tracks. It's fast.
Yeah, as a driver's always. I've never been a driver said I don't like that place. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, Chris Holmes says that they're fixing the cracks there. I don't know if that means they're sealing, like Hickory does. Or I'm not really. I'm not really sure.
I'll tell you,
sure what they're doing.
It's been 4 or 5. Well. Probably 5 or 6 years ago, but I cooked a motor one night because a piece of asphalt went through the radiator, and I didn't know it. Once you lose all the water in the engine, your water temperature gauge doesn't work. Yeah. So I had no way of knowing it got hot until it blew a head gasket.
It popped. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an awesome track, and I love the characteristics of it, how it's wore out. It's a driver's track, and you gotta pace yourself, and it's still fast, but. It is. We've gotten a lot faster than I think the asphalt can kind of hold. So.
The car's technology has outwent the tracks.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, some of that, could be fixed by, changing tires, changing down to a treaded, 9-inch tire or something, something where you wouldn't have to change, So I think that would help a lot. How have you run in the past there at Orange County when you've run?
I'm pretty good. I run for points up there in 2015 until about August, I think, when I started racing around a little bit more. I love that place. It's until South Boston got paved, it was the biggest speed sensation track we go to. It's just fast. Qualifying there, taped up on stickers, is something you can't describe. And then South Boston got repaved, and it kind of topped it. It's definitely a fun track to drive.
Daryl Carver, who was the limited champion there last year at Orange County Speedway, he said that that Orange County was playing with the idea of concrete in some of the bad places around the track, which it's a good idea. That's the fix we used at Franklin County. I can tell you that for sure. We had a lot of concrete there.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that's why the Martinsville turns are concrete, because they couldn't keep down.
It may be true.
I think that's what I heard. So.
They did that so long ago, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's because they couldn't keep the asphalt down.
Yeah, probably the load of the cars going in the corners.
Concrete's really hard.
Yeah.
Oh man, I look down and see Mike Jones talking about Kingsport lawnmowers and CE Fox. So I don't really know what's going on in the comments anymore. Oh my gosh!
I see Mike Jones chiming in.
You see Mike Jones?
Yeah, that's who said that. That's who said that. So
Thomas saw him in his mirror.
Wow. Wow. Oh man, is there anything that we haven't asked you about that you thought we were going to ask you about tonight?
No. Just I think we covered everything. You know, I wish a lot more people got to experience racing the way I get to do it. You know, I find it a privilege that I get to do as much work myself and try to understand how everything works and fab it myself. You know, it's real tough sometimes. You race against these kids, or I call them kids. I mean, I'm 29 now, but they don't have an idea what it takes, what goes into these cars. I mean, they're not the person that's there beating the crush panels out after they door each other coming to the green flag, you know, under one to go and stuff like that. I mean, it's just, I wish more people, you know, got the privilege to understand a car and get to drive it too. It's definitely something I enjoy.
Well, we've kind of, you know, talked to the previous two guests that we've had about, you know, what they would do, you know, to try to fix things. You know, they've kind of come up in the course of the conversation. What would you do? I mean, what do you think? You know, I mean, obviously late model stock car racing's cost is out of hand.
It is.
Of course, most racing is. So what would you do, you know, to try to fix this?
You know, just the cost to go race as far as your race weekend expenses is just, it's too much. I mean, if you think about the average person that has a life, has a mortgage or a house payment, you know, has normal life stuff, you know, when you go and have to spend more than your house payment on a weekend just to show up and race somewhere, I mean, how many people can pay 2 or 3 house payments a month? You know, that's how I like to compare it. So that's one of the things that, I mean, when we pick and choose where we want to race, we look at that aspect of it more than anything. You know, is it a risk, you know, of
how much is it
losing
going
a
to
bunch
cost
of
for us
money.
to be there?
I mean, we went to a track a couple of years ago. I wanted to be careful. I didn't want to name any tracks or names or anything, but we went to a place a couple of years ago, and we spent probably $1,500 on a race, and got like $300 for wherever we finished. I mean, I don't know about you, but who can take that kind of loss every time you go race? So I just wish so bad tracks could kind of get more in line of trying to take care of getting the cost down to show up and race, because it's a lot of cars out there. It's a lot of people that have cars. They just don't have the money to race them. And that's like, for us, that's what makes South Boston so great for us. You know, they pay $500 to start. They're on 2 tires. You spend $500 to go race, you're pretty much guaranteed to get what you spend back. And it makes it a whole lot easier to go. You know, I mean, it really does. You know, for you to have to go somewhere, some of these 4-tire tracks, spend $800 to get in the gate, and to get $400 for 4th place. You know, I mean, there's can only be one winner, and trophies mean more to people than people realize.
Well, I've always said that any track, if you've got 20 cars, there's only 3 or 4 people that's going to win the race. And those other guys, the guy that finished 12th every week, he knows he's not going to win. He's there to have a good time, but he should get something back, you know? I mean, it shouldn't be all at the top.
It takes the fun out of it. I mean, I got burnt out a couple of years ago. You know, I didn't have a lot of help, and we were doing everything ourselves and just struggling. And, you know, it takes money you have to spend money to win money. And, I mean, I was ready to quit. You know, it's kind of like cut your losses and move on and find another hobby. But then I can say this past year was very rewarding. You know, it took a whole lot to have the year we had, but it was a lot of fun. And you know, it's just something a lot of places need to work on to get more cars there. It's, you know, having a big payday is great for the guy who wins. And I can promise you, if I won the $25,000 at Martinsville or $10,000 at Ace or wherever, you know, obviously I would be very happy to have the money, but you know, a lot of places need to figure out a way to get more people there where the people can afford to do it.
Right. You mentioned South Boston and all the good things that they're doing. You know, 2-tire rule, F50s. Is that kind of one of the reasons why you made the decision to stay at South Boston versus? I mean, I know you said you had, you know, problems getting to Ace, you know, on time, you know, because you work and all. But is that one of the reasons? Because, you know, they were on a 4-tire track, and, you know, versus the 2 tires and the difference in what it pays.
Definitely. I mean, that's. I mean, if I had to be honest, it's the biggest decision. You know, why we're doing it, because we can afford to race there. I feel like I can go and have a chance to win and spend. I bought one set of practice tires last year on the first race, and practiced on those tires and was top 2 or 3 in practice pretty much every time until August. I bought a used set from Mark Wirtz that had like 15 laps on them and used them throughout the rest of the year. I mean, that's, these tracks where, you get 4 tires to race on, but you got everybody buying 4 tires to practice on, you feel like you're at such a disadvantage because you don't have access to that to kind of help dial your car in. You lack qualifying speed, so then you start in the back, and then you have to work twice as hard to get back to the front. I mean, it's just that's one of the things about the F50. People, I can understand. I didn't make it to Myrtle Beach, but obviously I've been there to watch many races there. Tire conservation races have their place, and they can be good. Anytime you get more strategy into who has the absolute best car, is a good race. But the F50s, they're so repeatable, so dependable. You basically run hard every lap as fast as you can go. And, that's fun racing too. When you can go, when you're not having to just ride or, conserve or not save your tires, when you can just go and go hard and have a good tire under you, it's a lot more fun to me.
Right, and it gives you, an opportunity to practice on them again because of that. I
mean,
like when I run Franklin County, we finally got, a batch of the F50s from South Boston, and, I give them to the guys. They didn't know they were coming, so they caught off guard, and they're all cussing before the race. Raising hell. And then they got them on there, and they go out, and they're like, man, this is really awesome.
It's not that big.
It's just like a new tire.
It is.
It's a half a second slower. It was a half a second from having a used F45 to an F50 slower.
I can understand that.
But, the tire was great.
I tried some at Ace this year. They've been running the 45s, and I put a set of my 50s on. And, I run 20, 30 laps straight and didn't change lap times at all that whole run.
Really?
To me, it's a good tire, if you want to have more people be able to afford to do it. That's just my opinion. I wish, Martinsville this past year, I had sponsors step up and pay pretty much for my whole trip, but I'd love to see them cut some of the tire costs out of there. it costs $4 or $5 grand to spend on tires just to go race Martinsville.
Right.
If you're going to go to win the race. My first year I made the race, we bought one set of tires, and that was qualifying because that was the minimum.
Yeah.
And made the race. But, if you're legitimately going to try to have the best chance to win or do good, you got to be able to buy the tires. And I'd love to see them because it's the same for everybody. Obviously, any rule, there's a way around it. And some people are going to figure out ways around rules, but that's just racing. It's a game. But, if they could figure out a way to cut the tire cost for Martinsville, I think you'd get more cars.
I never thought I'd see the day Corey was turning down a beer.
Drive home, man.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I never.
Dude, I'm wondering what the hell he does for a living now.
Yeah, selling drugs or something. I'm not really sure. Mason Dunn says that Myrtle Beach is a tire money pit. And while that may be true, they have done so many things at Myrtle Beach to save racers money, and their tires actually cost less there.
The racers spend their own money there. You don't have to buy 90 sets of tires there.
Right.
Mike Jones just called Bobby McCarty a silver spoon.
Well, that's not the first time he's ever been called that. In fact, here last week he got called something similar to that.
I got a lot of respect for Bobby. He did it like I'm doing it.
Yeah.
He just got a break.
Yep.
Yeah. He's boasting myself, but I feel like if I got
but before he got the break, they were running good, and
they were.
Like Troy told me, he said, "I don't know what the hell I'm doing, man."
They were doing it themselves.
It's just a family thing,
Yeah.
And I love to think that if I got the same opportunity he got, I could capitalize on it like he has. I used to struggle. I can say this now because I've gotten to know Bobby pretty good over the last couple of years. When he first got in the Nelson car, he started his driving style changed, and he was really aggressive, and I kind of felt like, dude, you used to have to fix your own car. Now you don't. Now you drive, a lot more aggressive and you tear stuff up. But then after racing with him this year at Hampton Heat, we had a heck of a battle.
Yeah. He was talking about that last week.
We slammed each other a few times, and I got the video on my phone. That was probably some of the most fun racing I've had all year because you got somebody like me is just enjoying racing and passing the guy who's leading the car store championship, you know, racing with Phillip and Peyton and Bobby. I mean, that's the top cars in the whole area. And then here I am getting to race with him. And, you know, Bobby, I mean, he's done a good job. I mean, he's made the most out of his opportunity to drive the best stuff.
Smooth, been real smooth.
He says it was the best battle ever.
It was pretty good.
That's what he said about it. So
he says that because he come out on top.
right. I understand. Troy McCarty chimed in and said those silver spoons are good for making tea. So, James Benfield, he obviously is late to the party. He says, just man up and come to Bowman Gray. 15,000 fans average per weekend, says something. Well, Thomas has already said he wants to come there and race.
I would. Corey, find me a car. I'll do it.
And it's cheap to race there. I mean, you spend like $40, you go race there. You buy one set of tires, last all year.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you got to run the tires 100 laps to even get them where they're even good.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing
I
I've
run
ever
those
seen.
tires at Ace. I was going to do the 602 race a couple years ago, and that was a blast. I mean, there's no sidewall to those tires, so you're out there. You feel like you're driving it for all it's worth, just all over the place. And, you know, the more wore out the tires are, the faster they get. It's the craziest thing.
That Y3 is an amazing tire. That and the Hoosier 980, I think that's the only two tires we should be running on. You know, of
I'm
course.
down with that.
Oh, Troy says the wooden ones are good for making tea. Okay, I got you. Those silver ones ain't good for that, I guess. But I think that going back to that battle that you guys had at Langley, just hearing both of you guys speak about how great, because he talked about it last week, you've talked about it this week. He says it was the best battle ever. I hate that I missed it.
It was pretty good. I got a video. I'll send it to you. All right.
Yeah, I was there. It was pretty good.
It was a lot of fun. Like I said, you know, I come from 13th that race and passed Greg Edwards a couple times, passed CE. You know, I got to see Bobby and CE's battle, you know, because I was right behind Bobby. I mean, they were laying on each other, man. I don't know how. They went down in turn 3 one time, and I don't know how they both didn't spin out. Yeah, that was anytime I get to race with those guys, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Bobby said that he said no, it wasn't just because he came out on top. He said that it was fun, gained a lot of respect for you that day, raced hard, kept them straight, and that's how it should be regardless of who's racing.
It is. I got out of the car. I was so happy just to finish fourth. You know, I think we hugged and had a good chuckle, and that was it. And that was definitely pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, we're about to come up on 9 o'clock, and I know you got a couple-hour ride home, so I don't want to keep you here all night. And we've talked about, you know, pretty much a wide range of subjects here for sure. And I want to again tell people that, you know, next week we're going to have a roundtable discussion focusing primarily on rules, you know, with Mike Bushy, Scott Kilby, and Kenny Hunley. And I'm sure, you know, a lot of people hadn't really heard from Kenny Hunley since, you know, he was let go or quit or whatever happened. We'll ask him next week.
He just kind of faded away.
You need to get Jackie.
Yeah, Jackie would be a good one on here. I think
we're
gonna go to Motor Mile for a show the week of their first race. And we're gonna try to hit a bunch of places the weeks of their first race, as many as we can, especially the closest ones. So those will be, you know, some good shows. It'll give us an opportunity to interview, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys at a time, you know, and they don't have to go anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think just on that topic, with late model, the NASCAR aspect of our division not having a leader for what we do is kind of, at this point, I feel like it's gone a little bit too far for somebody to just come in and be able to fix it.
What sport in the world or what kind of organization doesn't have that? I mean, it's just, to me, it's ridiculous. I just don't understand why have it.
Right. You know, I was listening to Speed 51's The Morning Bull Ring. Of course, I wasn't up this morning to listen to it, so I downloaded it on my phone and listened to it on the way to the show.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I wasn't up. It's 7:30 to 9:30 on Monday, so, hey, check them out. They're a really good show. It's very entertaining.
These guys do a great job.
Yeah, they do, for sure. But I was listening to them. I was listening to them earlier. Corey over here just anyways. But I was listening to them, and they were talking about – first they were talking about modifieds, and they were talking with Ryan Priest about modifieds and how New Smyrna's went from having hardly any cars to the best fields they've had in 25
years. The
years.
list this year is like 29 cars.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And the super late model car counts are up. And Ryan Priest said it. They had already talked about it. But Ryan Priest, when he came on the show, he said that the reason that the car count was up was because Ricky Brooks. He said he come in and he took control of it, and you don't feel like anybody has an advantage over you. So there's somebody, you know, a leader there just controlling it all, and that's what we're missing. I mean, and honestly, you know, as much as Lynn Carroll thinks I hate him, and I don't, he was that guy. when he was the head of NASCAR, he had his hand on it at all times and was controlling everything that went on. And
I feel like
sadly missed that.
He did a good job.
Well, I mean,
now he's just dealing with the hand he's dealt.
Well, good, bad, or indifferent. You might be. This is what it is, but everybody knows this is what it is.
Yep.
Instead of now, you ask a question and you got 14 people going, I don't know, man. I mean, nobody knows nothing.
Well, it's. I've seen it firsthand. Running Langley and South Boston this year. You go one track and one thing's checked a certain way, and you go to another track, it's checked another way. You show up Martinsville, it's checked away. It hadn't been checked all year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
It's
stuff like that. I mean, it just.
They need consistency, and to their credit, I was talking to one of them. I won't call them out by name. They can chime in if they want to, but I was talking to one of them, and they have been talking. They're trying to have more conversations between, all the tech guys at different tracks. So they're talking about the ways they're checking things and what they're doing and what they're planning on checking. So maybe we're headed in that direction. Maybe they're going there and going to try to get things, across the board. Your mom just chimed in, and I'm telling you, we're going to have to let you go here in a second because she said that your dad's waiting for you at the shop, so you got to hurry up.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, I believe it wholeheartedly.
He shows up even if I'm not at home.
Yeah. We talked about this last week, but Gerald Harris, the PR guy for the Southeast Super Truck Series, chiming in, talking about their season opener on March 30th at Tri-County. That's another one that we're planning on. We're actually planning on doing a Friday night show before their first race, which would be March 29th. We do that show. We ain't found a location for it yet, so if anybody knows of a good place to have that down in the Tri-County Hickory area,
Ooh.
So we got to find a restaurant, hotel, something. Probably go into Hickory. I'm not really sure. I think they stay at a hotel there in Hickory. I think is where they stay. So we'll probably go there. We're going to do a bunch of stuff though. Kingsport, we're going to do a kickoff show basically for their first race, which is their first race is on March 23rd. So we'll do the show that Monday, March 18th, maybe I think is the date. I'm trying to pull it out of the top of my head here.
Right. 18th.
Yep. So got a lot planned. I won't talk about the one at Langley yet, but we'll announce it here in a few days. Talked to Buck Roos the other day about doing it, so we're definitely going to go out there and do that. Got the producer to take off from work, so got a little bit got some good stuff going, and hopefully we'll be able to hopefully we'll be able to get to every track in some form or fashion before the end of the year. That's
we're
my
going to have his radio show at Bowman Gray in the pits.
Yep. They're opening. We're going to do something the week before their opening race.
I need you to find me a ride up there.
I can do it.
One night we're not racing in South Boston.
We're going to find out.
At the very least, when first two practices, you can come and you can drive Bo's modified practice.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, modified. Yep, I'm in.
I just want to drive there one time.
Yeah, we probably have it. We could have it arranged.
Can we get Mike Robertson? I don't know if he's on tonight. We get him a car or something.
He's got 73 cars.
I know. I'm telling you. We can probably pull one of these cars out. I mean, this truck right here could run in Bowman Gray, couldn't it?
See, the only stipulation.
That truck's outdated for Bowman Gray.
Wow.
The only stipulation would be that I'd have to fix it, the way I fix cars, and I couldn't pay somebody to fix it behind me if I tore it up.
First race for Bowman Gray is April 20th. April 20th. So we'll do something that week for sure.
Gerald Harris says we should go to Hog Wild Barbecue, so we'll keep that in mind.
That sounds good.
Zach Bruinger said that we're going to need some sponsors to pay for your loyal audience hotels. So these guys, I mean, I got to give it to them. I got to give it to these three guys
right here in the studio audience.
Oh man, Steven and the two Zachs over there. I mean, we got to give it to those guys because I mean they have been stuck through. I mean, even Roger don't show up, but they show up.
They got a keg of beer and pizza. They don't give a damn about this radio show. They just want somewhere to hang out for free.
I'm telling you, hey, they're having a good time. I mean, and that's what we want to grow this into. We want to have more of a fan atmosphere in here, and when I say fan, it's anybody. I don't care who it is.
We tried that last time. Advertised free beer and free food, and then we looked. There's 47 people in the garage.
That was some interesting time for sure.
Had all sorts of people just show up out of the blue.
Well, I mean, that's what it's about, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know.
Yeah. I mean, that's our our goal with the show is to give people information. Give racers a platform to talk and to have fun.
And to give these drivers a platform to tell their stories. You tonight really loved your story, and I think a lot of people were chiming in about your story and the way you were telling it. A lot of guys you hear, I've been away from the sport for many years now, coming back thanks to Langley, turd. but you embrace it. You own it instead of saying, well, I ain't got this, I ain't rich, I ain't that.
Right.
You own it, and you take advantage of what you got, and you make do with it, and you find success. And you're walking with your head a little bit higher, your chest out a little bit more, because you earned it, every inch of it.
Right.
And it feels good, don't it?
It does. I mean, especially, like I said, after the year we had, out of the thousands that run for the whole country and the NASCAR points, and then third in the state. I mean, every NASCAR race I run this year was against Phillip.
Yeah.
And he won a lot of them. But I mean, I know for a fact, and this may be mind-boggling. I'm not going to throw numbers out there, but I know from a very reliable source, I spent a tenth of what Phillip spent this year.
Yeah,
Sure.
easily.
A tenth might be too much.
It was too much. But
just think if I would have told you 10 years ago we're at Ace Speedway, I'd say, in 10 years you're going to be fighting for a championship at South Boston Speedway with Phillip Morris and Peyton Tiller. You say, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, he just said, well, Phillip's going to be retired in 10 years, which ain't going to happen in the next 10 years, I don't think.
But I mean, that's pretty big, man.
I feel like it's I have a pretty good sense of comment about it.
Yeah.
And you should, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree totally. You've won a race at Ace.
Mm-hmm.
How does winning a race at Ace and being your first win compare to what you accomplished this season and being able to run right with Phillip and Peyton? I mean, that right there, I mean, to me, I know a win's a win. I mean, so you got a trophy for it. You didn't get a trophy for finishing third to those guys. But, I mean, what's the feeling like? What's it compare?
I mean, it's really not a comparison. This year racing with them and getting a fourth at Langley and all the seconds and thirds I got at South Boston to them. I mean, we had a conversation with Rodney. We used to race at Ace in South Boston. He'd win 10, 12 races at Ace a year and then go and struggle to run 8th or 9th at South Boston. I mean, it's not knocking Ace. Ace is just its own place. Like it's just a.
Phillip came there and couldn't do good.
Right. Yeah.
Got.
I mean, he had
wasn't good at all.
42 starting parks.
Yeah.
42.
He did. They had
which is half as many as Anthony Andrews used to.
But it's just a different. It's a different animal, and to go out there and to race Ace hasn't been NASCAR in a few years, so to race at a NASCAR track against guys running for points, I mean, and to have the success we have, I mean, I could have never dreamed it. I mean, I'll never go anywhere farther in racing. This is as high as I'll ever go. Maybe this past year was as high as I'll ever be. I don't know, but it was definitely enjoyable.
I've only had my picture made in victory lane of any racetrack one time in my entire life.
That was with me.
Yep, that was with Thomas.
Camera hasn't worked since. Just saying. Got a lot of people, chiming in on here. I think the later we go, they seem to really get ramped up. I don't know if they're drinking at home, but they really get ramped up with comments on here as we go along.
Maybe we're making them drink. I don't know.
One thing, Mike Bushy chimed in talking about March 9th Cars Tour opener at Southern National. The week of that, I don't think we're going to go down there and do a show from there, but I think the week of that, on that Monday, I haven't talked to Chris about it. I was trying to get him on, on an earlier show, but he went on vacation or something. But I'm going to try to get Chris Ragle, that is, and Jack McNelly and Tony Stevens. We'll probably get him on, let him talk about, Pit Row TV. That'll be good. And then get some of the racers coming in here. And I know in the next few weeks we'll probably have Brandon Pierce and Lee Pulliam on. They've teamed up this year. So
I want to chime in on Brandon. It's kind of watching the whole the most improved driver this year, and I know a lot of people said that obviously I had a lot of success that I'd never had before. That kid right there, he is just he's really come to his own. I watched him race that race at Orange County, and he could have easily took out, I think it was Deke, to win that race. And the way he raced him, he just earned so much respect from me. I mean, I'm bad about sometimes making a judgment of somebody just because they show up and just race and they don't have to.
Right.
They don't have to struggle and work like some of us others do. But and I've originally had that thought with him. I'd raced with him, and just to watch him progress and grow into the driver he was this past year.
I mean, I'll be honest. First time I said, this ain't gonna be good, man. I mean, it's bad, and it went a long ways. I mean, he's top tier now.
I mean, man, I raced with him at Martinsville. We run close to each other at Martinsville a lot. Watched him race a couple Cars Tour races. I mean, he's really come on his own.
Yeah, for sure, no doubt. Roger Johnson just started watching. He ain't said anything, but the place is not burned down yet.
Nope.
You know, we did have a fire when CE and Wes Falk were on. We had a fire in my garage at my house in Salisbury.
Yeah.
The internet box actually caught on fire outside the house.
Yeah, I remember that.
So literally somebody went outside to either smoke or pee. I'm not really sure what they were doing. And they come back in and said, you know, the side of the house is on fire. And I was like, whatever. He said, no, the side of the house is on fire. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we'll go check it. We weren't on the air anyway, so it didn't matter. We thought we were, but we weren't.
Well, with CE being involved, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely, that's somebody that I haven't mentioned, but that's somebody, and I haven't even hit him up yet, but I'm sure he'll come. He came over there, and I'm sure he'll come up here to be on the show. We definitely want to get him on the show. I don't know when his first race is, so I'm going to have to text him and find out. But definitely want to get him on the show. I mean, you know, winner of Martinsville, man, I wish we'd had the show last year, you know. Did you need to say something?
No.
You just looked at me and raised your sound over there, and I got lost there. No, just you know, a lot of good things going on. You know, next 5 or 6, 7 weeks for the radio show, and a lot of really, really good guests. I think that we're going to have on. We've had 3 stellar guests so far to start. I mean, hey, it's in pretty good company. We had a good. You know, I think you had a really good interview tonight, and. You know, it's a pretty good company with the first 2 that we had on for sure.
Yeah, I was a little nervous, and I was like, man, you know, Josh and Bobby, and who's this guy, Thomas? Yeah. But no, it's been cool. I mean, I can talk racing with anybody. You know, I love it just as much as they do. You know, we all have our own specific stories and how we got to where we are and how we do it and go about it. And I think it's cool to have everybody's side.
Yeah, totally. And I think, you know, that was the one thing about this show tonight that I was excited about. Like, you know, nothing, you know, against, you know, Bobby and Josh, but like, you know, they're a different kind of racer. You know what I mean? They race for, you know, fully funded teams. I mean, I know where Bobby come from, and I know Josh, you know, ain't got, you know, millions of dollars either. But I knew it would be a different perspective, and that was the most important thing to me about tonight was, you know, to bring that perspective to light of how you race and what it takes for you to race.
Well, I mean, I know I said it earlier. You know, you think about Nelson Motorsports. I mean, who wouldn't love to drive for that team? They got every resource available. They got the smartest minds working on the cars. They got every engine combination. You know, like I said earlier, I got one engine, and if I had to go out and try to buy a Harrington or a Ford Crate or something, it'd take me 2 years to save up enough money to buy one. And something would be so different by then. You know, I'd be in the same place.
Yeah.
You know, it's a whole different perspective. And when racing out monies the guy like me or people that support the series through thick and thin and actually struggle and put in the work, it won't be racing no more.
Right. Yeah. I agree totally.
Yeah. And your whole upbringing. I mean, I think you were lucky in a sense that, you know, your dad raced, built all his own stuff. I mean, the 3 people you've been around the most coming, you know, Barry Begley. I mean, you hung a lot around him. He builds his own cars. Who does that? Nobody builds it. I mean, he's like, hey, there's some metal. I'm gonna build a race car, and you know, and it's badass and it's fast. Rodney Cook, same way. You know, he works on all his stuff. So you had a sense of that, you know, growing up anyway.
Yeah. No, I mean, and definitely, my relationship with Rodney was very important to me. You know, I was just thinking about. I was going to bring this up. My one of the first times was right after I got my 16 driver's license at 16.
Yeah.
I drove up to Rodney's shop. It was for Martinsville practice day. And I was so excited about going to Martinsville because I hadn't been in the pits yet. I was so excited I left my car running the whole day. I parked it at Rodney's shop. I parked it at Rodney's shop, got out of the car, and jumped in the hauler because they were waiting on me. And his mama called about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we left, you know, 6 o'clock or 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
4 o'clock in the afternoon, she's like, whose car is this out here running? And it was mine.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Hopefully gas was cheap back then.
It was. Daddy paid for it.
Yeah, Bobby McCarty chiming in said that his first year in the late model was with a borrowed engine that wasn't even theirs. He said he feels your pain, and that's for sure. I mean, those guys, you know, we talked about it last week. Those guys, you know, I was at their first test he had in the limited, and you know, became friends with them. And I mean, I seen the way that they were. So I mean, it was cool that he got, you know, a shot, and you know, maybe yours is coming one day, you know, with somebody.
I hope so. I mean, I'd love to think. I mean, if somebody wanted to just help me out and give me some money to race off of, I could do a lot with what I already have. Or if I got the opportunity to go race for one of those teams, I mean, obviously I would jump on it. I mean, it's just it's a completely different world. I mean, like I think I sent you a picture. I went to Martinsville this year. I had like 4 different people's body parts on my car.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just racing off of used hubs, used rear ends, body parts and stuff. I mean, it's the way I have to do it, and I don't know any different. I hadn't bought a new body since 2009. I mean, it's just the way I have to do it. Otherwise I'd be sitting at home.
Gotcha. Dominic Casola chiming in. Tri-County Motor Speedway, of course, for sale. $399,000. Wish I had that. I'd go buy it.
That sounds like a good deal.
If you didn't have to deal with the, I seen that Zach chimed in and said he was buying it, Which, I mean, the way he spends money on this radio show, shit, he probably could buy it. I mean, I'm just glad to tell you. I mean, if he'd stop spending money here, I guarantee he could. Yeah, RACE22 headline, Stephen over here in the crowd says that RACE22 headline this week is going to be that Zach Bruinger buys Tri-County. So, we'll wait for him to sign the contract on that first. I try not to get too far ahead of myself. I have a couple times. But a bunch of people, chiming in here, and, one of them said that, I can't even find it now, but said that an interesting show would be Zach Bruinger, and we're going to get him on here one week. We're going to see how long he lasts being here every week as part of the crowd, and then we'll put him on. So, I don't think he's going to give up, though. I think he's going to sit in the crowd and enjoy himself, because, I mean, he looks like he's having a good time to me.
He does.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how much beer they've drank. I know my Diet Mountain Dew, I need to make a pit stop.
Make a pit stop.
I've been sitting here for a couple hours now.
About the 2-hour mark in the show, everybody's got to make a pit stop. So, well, I guess, good Lord, Mason. I'm not even going to respond to you. But anyways, I guess that's going to do it for us tonight. I appreciate, you coming on, and talking with us tonight. And hopefully, hopefully you win some big races this year, and we'll have you on again for sure.
That'd be awesome. That's the plan.
Good. Corey, glad you came. Wasn't sure if you were going to make it. You got here real late.
Well, I had to work because I have a job.
Well,
you should try it sometime.
I would prefer to never try that. And actually, I have no intentions of ever trying that. So I enjoy, getting up at noon or 10 or 11 or 1 or 3 or whatever the number is. Yeah. Late yesterday it was 3, but, it was great, man. It was great. So, anyways, the music's playing. The producer is telling me that I got to get out of here. So we are gone.